You don't get to choose who you become. The weight of it settles in the room, a silent, staggering pressure. Every glance exchanged, every refusal spoken is a click in a lock you didn't see. Now the only way out is straight through. The students sitting below were all very serious. Only then did the homeroom teacher of Class 8 turn on the screen recording. Sitting in the same row, Chen Zhu and Ren Wangshuan exchanged glances, the ambition in their eyes clearly visible. Bai Lian sat attentively in her seat. Today's lecture had moved on from electromagnetism to light and dynamics, discussing polarization and single-axis crystals throughout the lesson, and even touching on Hygen's principle and dispersion. Bai Lian noted everything. She understood quickly but didn't grasp many of the formulas, because she hadn't yet learned about the dispersion curve. The lesson was difficult, and everyone listened with utmost seriousness. At 7:30, when the video ended, many went up to copy it, and the homeroom teacher of Class 8 began to distribute today's exercises. Bai Lian glanced at the problems. They covered an entire page and were all about optical crystals. She hadn't learned the equation for the dispersion curve, and as usual, packed the problems away. 2 messages appeared on the phone lying on the desk. Having not added many contacts to her phone, she opened it to take a look. Teacher Jiang, you didn't give them the answers, did you? Bai Lian, no. Teacher Jiang, bring them with you tonight. I'll explain the problems to them. Bai Lian looked at the message from Jiang Fulai, feeling somewhat surprised. To her right, Chen Zhu and Ren Wangshuan, who rarely stayed behind, exchanged glances, gathered their things, and left the lecture hall. Zhu Jiren, too, found the problems headache-inducing. She had been closely watching Chen Zhu's group. Seeing them leave so early today, she couldn't help poking Tang Ming's arm. They must be heading to Wan Building again. Tang Ming, who was wrestling with today's problem, looked up and replied, possible. Both Ren Wangshuan and Chen Zhu's families are wealthy. After Chen Zhu and Ren Wangshuan had disappeared from view, Zhu Jiren diverted her gaze back, just in time to see Bai Lian, putting away the exercises distributed by the teacher. Her interest waned as she turned away. She wasn't surprised by Bai Lian's actions. After all, Zhu Jiren found the problem challenging herself, let alone Bai Lian. By the way, Bai Lian said, removing her school coat in the warm lecture hall and revealing a white blouse embroidered with dark bamboo leaves, she leisurely popped the cap off a ballpoint pen. Do you have time tonight? I need to go over the problems I gave you last time. In the front row, Ning Zio, who had been engrossed in his homework, suddenly looked up as if a switch had been flipped. He turned around to look at Bai Lian. Where? Bai Lian lazily flipped open her black notebook, pressing her fingertip against the snow-white pages. The milk tea shop by the school gate. Not far, the milk tea shop by the school gate. Ning Zio nodded in agreement. All right, I'll go with you. Beside him, Tang Ming scratched his head. He hadn't quite understood the problems from last time, and the ones assigned by the teacher tonight were also difficult. Tang Ming felt like he wanted to go back and work on tonight's optics problem. However, since this was the new classmate's first invitation, Tang Ming said, "Then I'll come along too." He wasn't particularly interested in the discussion about the problems, as Bai Lian seemed to struggle with today's material. But Bai Lian had already surpassed any other person in Xiangcheng, #1 middle school, to become the goddess of the school. If his roommates found out Bai Lian invited him, and he didn't go, he'd worry about being tormented to death by them in his sleep. Zhu Jiren glanced at Tang Ming and Ning Zio, then smiled politely at Bai Lian. Bai classmate, I stay in the dorms. If I go back too late, there's no water left. You guys go ahead. One think I'll go back to wash my hair first. All the students in this training class were top scholars. Bai Lian's 85% meant nothing here, let alone a score of 200. It would make sense to skip washing up to go out with Ren Wangshuan and Chen Zhu if they were the ones explaining problems. But Bai Lian, this person who herself needed assistance, explaining problems to them. Zhu Jiren didn't have the time to play make-believe with her. 8 o'clock. The other students in the lecture hall began to pack up their belongings reluctantly, their faces filled with gloom as they left. It was obvious that the problems left behind today were too difficult, and half an hour wasn't enough for them to even sketch the diagram for the first sub-question. As soon as the clock struck the hour, Ning Zio packed up his things and turned to look at Bai Lian. Bai Lian had found the dispersion curve in Jiang Fulai's notebook and had figured out the minimum angle of deviation. She methodically placed the pen cap, books, and notebook in order. Ning Zio hung his head, his pale fingers twitching, seemingly with the impulse to help her get organized immediately. The two of them left one after the other, and Tang Ming also lifted his head from that problem. He quickly packed up a pile of messy items and slightly raised his voice. "You two go ahead, I'll be right there." Meanwhile, Zhu Jiren had also failed to understand that problem. She stood up with her hand pressed against her forehead, packed up her things, and headed back to the dorm, passing by Tang Ming in that state. She raised her eyebrows, seemingly wanting to laugh. "No way, Tang Ming, you didn't really do the problem she gave you, did you?" The quality of the problems supplied by the training class was so high that they couldn't grasp them fully. There was no time to look at the problems Bai Lian gave them. It would be better to go home and do more sets of 10-year simulation tests. Tang Ming opened his mouth. "Actually, the questions do have substance." "Forget it." Zhu Jiren slung her backpack over her shoulder and shook her head. "If you want to do them, then do them, but don't say I didn't warn you. You're wasting your time, and our performance in the training class will be counted in our regular score." Everyone knew what this training class was for. The most important thing was to cherish the time at the training class in the few days remaining. Tang Ming caught up with Bai Lian and Ning Zio. Jiang He was still sitting in the farthest corner of the milk tea shop waiting for Bai Lian, still playing with his Rubik's Cube. Without mentioning how astonished Tang Ming was to see the type of Rubik's Cube Jiang He was playing with, even Lion Ning Xiao took a second glance at Jiang He. After sitting down, she didn't say anything, but instead handed them the answers from her backpack. It was the solution to the exercises that Jiang Fulai had left behind last time. Ning Zio took the answers and set aside the exercises from today to start studying the solutions. The handwriting for the answers wasn't Bai Lian's, but was rather clear and elegant, with each character floating on the paper, most of them replaced by symbols, which led him to suspect that the person who wrote the answers may have found them too simple, hence the careless writing. Tang Ming took out the problems copied by Bai Lian from his backpack, intending to just glance over the answers she had given them, because he actually thought it was far-fetched to have Bai Lian explain the problems to them. The previous problems had seemed a bit convoluted, with too many knowledge points, after looking through the first sub-question. Tang Ming, who had planned to just take a quick look, suddenly sat up straight and, like Ning Zio, took out pen and paper to start working through the solution. Even though Tang Ming's grades weren't as good as Ning Zio's, he could tell. This problem had more substance than the electromagnetic problem the teacher had left last time. When Jiang Fulai arrived at the milk tea shop at 9 o'clock, the two of them were still pondering over that problem. Some people naturally exude a cool aura. When he walked in, the temperature in the entire milk tea shop seemed to drop a couple of degrees. As Ning Zio and Tang Ming looked up, they saw a pair of cold, light eyes. The milk tea shop was small, with only a 4-person square table available. In the past, Jiang Fulai would sit opposite Bai Lian and Jiang He. Now there were Ning Zio and Tang Ming as well. Jiang Fulai glanced at Jiang He. Jiang He paused and then silently packed up his things and sat at the table behind Bai Lian. "What homework did they leave today?" Jiang Fulai elegantly sat down, his black trench coat neat and spotless, and with his long, pale fingers, he took the problem Bai Lian handed him. He hadn't said anything else, but the pressure he exerted on Ning Zio and Tang Ming was greater than that of a class head teacher. "Optical crystals." Jiang Fulai glanced at the problem and instantly knew, casually activating his skills towards the two opposite him. "The first question can be solved using Huygens' principle to determine the propagation directions of the E wave and O wave, which should be evident at first sight. You both know it, right?" The academic god of no. One high school, Lion Ningxiao, suddenly became a bit silent. The ordinary top student, Tang Ming, didn't dare speak. Jiang Fulai coldly swept them with a glance. He opened his mouth, about to say something. At his side, Bai Lian calmly removed the pen cap next to her and handed it to him. She was still wearing her earphones, having just been memorizing words, her fine hair sweeping across her forehead, one hand lazily propping up her chin. "Teacher Jiang, I haven't really gotten to dispersion curves yet." Jiang Fulai retracted his gaze from the two. He took the pen, not even looking at the problem, and began to write a set of beautiful equations on the paper. The wave velocity of a single-axis crystal is quite simple. The incredulous Ming Dengheng sitting next to Jiang, he looked at Jiang Fulai. Even Jiang Ziju, who had once been famous at Jiangjing University, had been scolded by Jiang Fulai. He admitted that Bai Lian was smart, but those two things across from her, why, oh why? Ming Dengheng coolly withdrew his gaze. The three people on this side listened very earnestly. Jiang Fulai didn't directly write out the answer and steps for the problem. Instead, he dissected all the principles, starting from the basics and progressing to more complex concepts. Ning Xiao and Tang Ming both held pens, noting the key points as they listened. When he seriously explained the problem, he seemed much less aloof. Bai Lian had a photographic memory and didn't need to write notes. She listened intently throughout, only jotting down specialized terms in a small notepad she had prepared for Jai Heng, planning to randomly select one to explain to him later. It took Jiang Fulai nearly half an hour to finish explaining the 4 questions. After he finished, the other 3 began to work on the problems according to their understanding. What Jiang Fulai compiled wasn't as extensive as the course materials, but there was no filler in his words, and his analyses were crystal clear. His teaching ability was such that even a physics underachiever could understand completely. Bai Lian hadn't eaten dinner yet, so after Jiang Fulai finished speaking, she went to have a meal with Jiang He, carrying her vocabulary notebook. It was truly difficult for Tang Ming to speak in front of Jiang Fulai, so Ning Xiao nodded. Jiang Fulai gathered the paper, casually folding it carefully, and then tucked it into Bai Lian's black notebook before looking at the two. "I'd prefer today's matter not be known by that member." Ning Xiao and Tang Ming, both shrewd, instantly grasped the meaning behind the young master Jiang's words. "We understand," Ning Xiao promised on behalf of Tang Ming. "Right," Jiang Fulai replied nonchalantly, standing to go have dinner, "and there's no need to inform classmate by either." The problems were somewhat challenging. It took the 3 of them until 11 at night to complete them. Bai Lian continued to work on problems. She had many questions lately and couldn't sleep, often working on problems until 2 in the morning. Jiang Fulai sat on one side with his laptop, dealing with documents. Jiang He had already fallen asleep on the small sofa next to them. After finishing the exercises, Ning Xiao and Tang Ming left the tea shop first, exchanging glances. How could these two be so intelligent and still be so hardworking? Once they were out of Jiang Fulai's sight, Tang Ming asked Ning Xiao with genuine curiosity, "Who was that guy just now?" If he had someone like Jiang Fulai tutoring him from a young age, his mother would have no more worries about him getting into Jiangjing University. The better their grades were, the more they could understand the terrifying level of Jiang Fulai. He simplified complex problems into their most basic explanations. Even an hour and a half of supplemental classes at Jiangjing University every evening couldn't match 10 minutes of his teaching. If he were to start teaching classes, how many people would queue up? Ning Xiao shook his head. "I'll finally understand why the new student got into the training class," Tang Ming sighed. "Both of them are quite scary." Ning Xiao did not speak, just tacitly agreeing. Hee, we're so lucky." Tang Ming rubbed his hands together. The next day, Pu Ziohen and the class study representative finally found an opportunity to speak with Bai Lian about the school celebration. Pu Ziohen sat in front of Bai Lian, turned around, leaned on Bai Lian's desk, and stared at her without blinking. "Perform," Bai Lian wrote down a formula, looked up, her almond-shaped eyes expressing surprise. "But all my talents are quite average." "No worries," Pu Ziohen embraced her arm. "You just stand there on the stage without moving, and you'll be our Class 15's icon." "Please." Bai Lian truly believed her other skills were quite average, but seeing Pu Ziohen's and the others' expectant gazes, she couldn't refuse, so she volunteered to perform a sword dance. "Sounds so cool." Pu Ziohen and the cultural committee member were somewhat excited. Bai Lian didn't quite get it. What's so cool about performing the sword flower technique? Isn't that something everyone can do? Do you need me to borrow a space for you to practice? Pu Ziohen asked shyly. No need, one have night classes. Bai Lian shook her head, the skill ingrained in her bones, repeatedly emphasizing, but I really was just average at longsword in the past. It's okay, Pu Ziohen shook her head. She didn't need Bai Lian's dance to be very appealing. Just having Bai Lian stand on the stage meant class 15 would already be winning. Whenever you have time, we'll take you to do a rehearsal on stage. Okay. Bai Lian pulled out the mathematics textbook for the next class, her fingertips lazily resting on the page she needed to review. Her oversized school uniform made her excessively gorgeous eyes and brows seem softer. Just prepare a longsword for me. Pu Ziohen exchanged a glance with the study committee member and gave a thumbs up. Then she added Bai Lian's sword dance to the rehearsal schedule. The school prop room didn't have a longsword, so they would have to get one custom-made from outside, and the costumes also needed to be prepared in advance. The two of them took note of everything in their notebooks. At 6 in the evening, the tutoring class. The homeroom teacher of Class 8 collected yesterday's answers. Then, today's video started playing, still physics. Today's recorded lesson is harder than yesterday's, and it will get increasingly difficult moving forward. Everyone, please be prepared. It had already gone beyond high school level knowledge. The Class 8 homeroom teacher sat at the back, listening and grading yesterday's problems. There were 4 questions in total, and most people had only managed to do the first 2. That was until he came across Ren Wangshuan's answers. Ren Wangshuan had attempted every question, though her final answer was vague. It was quite apparent that someone had written the solving process for her, but she hadn't understood the last question fully. The homeroom teacher paused, just about to write 10 for her regular score. Then he remembered something and took out Bai Lian's answer sheet, which had all 4 questions attempted as well. The method was entirely different from what he had received. His interest piqued. He began to study Bai Lian's answers, which were more detailed and clearer than the standard ones. In fact, the standard answer was quite simple, with only one diagram for the first sub-question, whereas Bai Lian had written a standard analysis beside it. After reviewing Bai Lian's answers, the previously perplexed homeroom teacher finally understood the problem. He made his decision. He gave Ren Wangshuan and Chen Zhu 8 points, as the other 2 in their group had only completed 3 questions, for which he awarded 7 points. Bai Lian and Ning Zio scored a full 10, while Tang Ming was slightly off in his understanding, his answer to the last question a bit vague, earning him 9 points. The homeroom teacher of Class 8 pondered over Bai Lian's answer for a long time. He had asked Bai Lian before, and given Ning Zio and Tang Ming were in her group, it was clear who was benefiting the most. At 7:30, the video lecture ended. Ren Wangshuan, Chen Zhu, and their 4-person group were not kept back. They left the lecture hall with excited expressions on their faces. In the hallway, the homeroom teacher of Class 8 called out to Ren Wangshuan, "Ren student." Ren Wangshuan respected the homeroom teacher, "Teacher." The homeroom teacher held Bai Lian's answer sheet in his hand and looked at Ren Wangshuan kindly. "Ren student, I've looked at your answers, and they're more standard than the analysis." The answer, written by Dr. Gao, was naturally standard. Ren Wangshuan merely smiled. The homeroom teacher changed the subject. "Therefore, I would like to share this answer with the other students if that's okay with you." Ren Wangshuan looked straight at the homeroom teacher and suddenly asked, "Does that include Bai Lian?" The teacher didn't respond. "Teacher," Ren Wangshuan felt a growing frustration, not understanding why every elder seemed to favor Bai Lian so much, even though Bai Lian's grades were so poor. She held back the sourness in her tone. "We are eventually going to be graded, aren't we? Can the school guarantee the entire process is fair? And of course, this analysis was obtained through the hard effort of my family from Dr. Gao. It's a demonstration of our personal ability," Ren Wangshuan said. "If they want clearer analysis, if they want higher regular scores, they can find someone to help them solve the problems themselves. That would be truly fair and just, wouldn't it?" The homeroom teacher looked at her, folding up the paper in his hand, and after a long moment agreed, "Right, one had not thought it through. Indeed, only then it would be fair and just." Ren Wangshuan looked into the teacher's eyes and asked, So, you won't share our analysis with any other person, will you? Don't worry, the Class 8 homeroom teacher withdrew her gaze. Elle won't give it to anyone else. Ren Wangshuan knew her homeroom teacher wouldn't lie, and with the Ren family's influence, he wouldn't dare offend her over such matters. Only then did she bid farewell to the homeroom teacher and leave. Her mother had spent a great deal to persuade Dr. Gao to agree to teach them for 10 days, and she did not want to waste any more time here. The Class 8 homeroom teacher watched her leave and then went to look for Bai Lian. Today, as usual, Bai Lian hadn't completed her assignments. He had gotten used to it and simply knocked on her desk, gesturing for her to catch up. Bai Lian picked up her coat and, while draping it over her shoulders, followed him out in no particular hurry. She stood straight, her eyes dark. Her pure pupils reflected the silhouette of the Class 8 homeroom teacher, her tone respectful toward her teacher. Bai Lian showed an unusual politeness toward teachers and elders. This was something the Class 8 homeroom teacher and Lu Lingxi had long noticed. Which teacher wouldn't like a student who was exceedingly polite, had a serious attitude toward learning, was smart and eager to learn, and also happened to be good-looking? The Class 8 homeroom teacher's mood instantly improved. He clasped his hands behind his back and suddenly coughed several times. Bai Lian realized that her teacher didn't have a cold. She looked at his face, her own expression unchanging, and asked with concern, "Teacher, are you all right?" "It's nothing, cough, cough." The Class 8 homeroom teacher sighed, a troubled look on his face. "Elle didn't sleep well last night." "What happened?" "You should take care of your health." Bai Lian cooperated well. His eyes shifted and he coughed twice more. "Lately, I've been thinking about a book." "Do you know which book?" Bai Lian. "Which book?" "Jiangjing University Physics," the Class 8 homeroom teacher said gravely. Bai Lian. "Okay, she got it." She returned to her seat and handed out the Jiangjing University Physics book to him. The Class 8 homeroom teacher's eyes lit up, and he took it pretending to be nonchalant. "Can I show your homework answers to the other students from yesterday?" "Sure," said Bai Lian, still holding her pen, her eyes slightly narrowed in thought about the dispersion curve equation. Her tone wasn't too concerned. After speaking, she realized that the Class 8 homeroom teacher was looking at her with some kind of expression. "What's wrong?" Bai Lian raised her eyebrows. The Class 8 homeroom teacher didn't understand her. To the people of Xiangcheng, she was never stingy with anything, especially if it could help Xiangcheng students with their studies. "Aren't you afraid the other students will surpass your scores?" Bai Lian met his gaze, her slightly raised expression revealing perhaps an innate arrogance, calm and confident. "Oh, let them try." Class 8 homeroom teacher. He shook the book in his hand, of course not intending to share Bai Lian's analyses with others. "I'll return it to you after I've finished reading." Bai Lian nodded lazily, her demeanor somewhat nonchalant. "It's fine. If you like it, teacher, one can ask around after I'm finished and see if I can give it to you." "Really?" The Class 8 homeroom teacher realized he had gotten too excited. He immediately put his hands behind his back again and said inscrutably, "All right, I've got it. Go back to your homework." In the lecture hall, Zhu Jiaran whispered gossip to Tang Ming, her eyes filled with awe. Elle heard that Ren Wangshuan's group got a doctor from Jiangjing to discuss problems with them, and this time the spot will definitely be between her and Chen Zhu. This rumor had spread through the training class, and most of the top students had given up competing with them. "If only we were in her group," Zhu Jiaran murmured wistfully, her eyes clearly longing. "A doctor from Jiangjing University, we may never meet one in our whole lives, and yet they're related to the Ren family." Zhu Jiaran turned to look at her own group members. Tang Ming just perfunctorily agreed a couple of times. Then he bent his head to his notebook. Bai Lian had just returned to her seat, as usual. She gathered the evening's problem sets and from her pocket pulled out a candy, peeling it open leisurely. Her lowered long lashes made her seem less approachable, and as if sensing a gaze, she coldly lifted her head a bit. That look from her pitch-black eyes gave Zhu Jiaran an inexplicable sense of oppression. After coming to her senses, she couldn't help but pout. Pretentious. 8 o'clock. This time, Tang Ming was even more eager than Ning Xiao, packing up 5 minutes early and then waiting with his backpack, watching Bai Lian pack up slowly, feeling hurried yet not daring to rush her. Zhu Jiaran still didn't leave with them. The Class 8 homeroom teacher was reading Jiangjing physics on the side. He didn't leave early today and saw Zhu Jiaran alone, heading toward the dormitories. "Why didn't you go with Ning Xiao and the others?" he questioned. "Teacher," Zhu Jiaran, holding her backpack and lacking energy, replied to the teacher. "The dormitory's hot water shuts off early, so I want to go back and wash my hair first. Plus, studying in the dormitory is just the same for me, so just let Ning Xiao and Bai Lian discuss for now." "Is that so?" The Class 8 homeroom teacher was silent for a while, then nodded. "The teacher thinks that you, Zhu, could integrate with the group a bit more." Zhu Jiaran was somewhat perfunctory and didn't take it seriously. No, teacher." After speaking, she left the place. The Class 8 homeroom teacher watched her departing figure. Zhu Jiaran was grouped with Bai Lian. But now he finally understood why Zhu Jiaran had no answers. As a teacher tasked with imparting knowledge and solving doubts, he had done all that he should have. The journey of life still had to be walked by themselves. The high school entrance exam is a competition with the whole country, not just with people from this school. The grade group unanimously decided on this study group, hoping that they would go further, not just in this prep camp. If Ren Wangshuan truly wants fairness, then let them all show their own magic. Momentum must be conserved, so the refractive index at double frequency must match that of the fundamental frequency. Thus, when they are both part of the same light beam, it's impossible for them to have the same refractive index. Jiang Fulai, with his tall figure slightly leaning against the back of the chair, had one hand still on the computer keyboard, his light-colored eyes slightly narrowed, making him look rather formidable. The sense of nobility was ingrained in his bones, and he spoke calmly and methodically. "Do you understand?" Bai Lian understood. The topic for tonight was still optics problems. After watching 2 video lessons along with Jiang Fulai's explanation and the example problems on her notebook, she had grasped it all. It was actually quite similar to last night's problem. The problem was harder than last night's. Jiang Fulai spoke rather quickly. Bai Lian was just about to nod when she subconsciously looked across. Ning Xiao's note-taking hand paused. He missed a point. Tang Ming, he missed quite a few points. Bai Lian lazily took a pen, her slender fingers writing a line of neat script on the notebook, her chin resting on her arm. "Teacher Jiang, please say it again." Jiang Fulai gave the 2 people across a cold glance and emotionlessly repeated the explanation. Ning Xiao finally closed his notebook and heaved a sigh of relief. Tang Ming didn't dare to move. He was still a little short. Jiang Fulai stared at Tang Ming, leaned back, and in the end couldn't help asking, "What did your soul leave your body?" "Teacher Jiang," Bai Lian handed him a cup of iced water. Master Jiang held back and went over it once more. Behind them, Ming Dingheng, who was playing with Jiang He, struggled to understand and looked away. About a minute later, he took out his phone and sent a message in the group chat. "Ming Dingheng, Zhang Shao is explaining a problem to an ordinary high school student." 2 minutes later, someone leisurely responded. Su Nanjing, lighting a candle. JPG, Jiang Ziju usually ignored him. Ming Dingheng, optics problems, he calmly explained it 3 times. In less than 10 seconds. Su Nanjing, what? Su Nanjing, impossible. Su Nanjing, don't believe rumors, don't spread rumors. Su Nanjing, smiled Jiang Ziju. Jiang Ziju initiated a group video call. The sound of WeChat's video invitation to call rang out, and Ming Dingheng quickly hung up to avoid disturbing the 3 high school students studying. Jiang Ziju invited you to a video call, hang up. Jiang Ziju invited you to a video call, hang up. Jiang Ziju invited you to a video call, turn off the phone. All was quiet. Ming Dingheng heaved a sigh of relief, holding his phone, thoughtfully looking at Bai Lian, feeling like he'd made a clever discovery. Across from him, Jiang He was speechless. Bai Lian still went to eat only after the explanations were finished. Jiang He had to wait for her every day so they could eat together. Seeing her go to eat, Jiang Fulai's gaze shifted slightly from the computer, his voice still cold. "What are you competing for in your training class this time?" Tang Ming didn't dare to speak. Ning Xiao, however, was much calmer. "A spot for the Jiangjing University Prep Camp app." "How many spots did he give?" Jiang Fulai's fingertips tapped on the keyboard, asking casually. Ning Xiao didn't understand who Jiang Fulai meant by he. and just exchanged glances with Tang Ming. Several spots. That spot was hard to come by. They from Xiang Cheng had only gotten one in nearly a decade. And he's using several to describe it. Was a spot for the Jiangjing University prep camp as common as cabbage. Just one, Ning Xiao replied. Jiang Fulai's fingertips paused on the keyboard, and he tilted his head. His usually calm and detached eyes flickered with confusion. LC, he nodded. At midnight, the car stopped at the entrance to Purist Street. I'm here, Bai Lian got out of the car, standing at the edge of the road. Suddenly, he remembered the countless times tonight he had wanted to blurt something out, only to swallow his words again. She fished the last cherry-flavored candy out of her pocket and handed it to Jiang Fulai. What? Jiang Fulai also got out of the car. He wouldn't leave until he had watched Bai Lian enter the alleyway. Bai Lian opened her hand and placed the red and green wrapped candy in his palm. Her fingers were slender, and under the dim streetlight, they looked like cold jade soaked in water. The auntie on the bus gave it to me this morning. Bai Lian looked up, met his eyes, flashed a very brief but earnest smile and said, You've worked hard, Teacher Jiang. She always regarded people around her as if they were observers passing through this mortal world. Even her smiles seemed casual and never reached the depths of her eyes. She was like duckweed, and if one wasn't careful, she could be blown away by the wind at any moment. Yet now, hers was an utterly pure smile. She tilted her head up slightly, the scattered light of the street lamps reflecting in her dark apricot eyes, lazy and diffuse, hard for anyone to resist being struck by. Jiang Fulai watched her pick up her school bag, turn around, and casually wave at him before walking into the alley. He clenched the candy in his palm. Back in the car, something suddenly occurred to him, and he sent out a message. Has your lab finally gone bankrupt? A certain academician woke from his dream. I what? Jiang Fulai sneered. Jiangjing University's preparatory camp had only one slot available, which was no different from going bankrupt. The 8th grade homeroom teacher had stayed up all night, flipping through the Jiangjing University book from cover to cover. Then he took photos of every single page. Chen Zhu went to the office to submit his homework in the morning, and upon leaving, saw the book on the teacher's desk. He hesitated for a moment. The title on the book was very clear, Physics at Jiangjing University. Most students who had participated in competitions had heard of this book, authored by several well-respected academicians from the physics department at Jiangjing University. It was highly valuable. It also contained experimental data from several major domestic laboratories. To prevent it from falling into foreign hands, this book was circulated only within Jiangjing University. The control over it was strict. The Dr. Gao hired by the Ren family also came from Jiangjing University, but this Dr. Gao was extremely arrogant. It was hard to even meet him, as he would only send them the answers to problems every day. He wouldn't say a single extra word. The students held the teachers from Jiangjing University in high esteem, hardly daring to speak too much, let alone asking him for the book. How did the homeroom teacher come by this book? Teacher, Chen Zhu stared at the book in his hands. Can one take a look at that book? The 8th grade homeroom teacher, his eyes bleary from a night without sleep, barely looked up, then calmly put away the book and refused, No, and it's not mine either. Chen Zhu was taken aback. He had thought the homeroom teacher was lending them the book, the 8th grade. Chen Zhu mentioned the matter to her, and Ren Wangshuan clenched the papers. Are you sure it's Jiangjing Physics? Yes, Chen Zhu nodded. Both of them had evidently heard of Jiangjing Physics. Why wouldn't the homeroom teacher lend it to us? Ren Wangshuan couldn't understand after getting confirmation. She and Chen Zhu never thought there would come a day when the homeroom teacher would refuse them. Maybe it's too precious, Chen Zhu pressed against his brow. We'll have to figure out another way. No matter what, they needed to get their hands on that book. In the evening, the same group of top students attended the tutorage class. At 7:30, after the video was played, the 8th grade homeroom teacher covertly called Bai Lian out, returned the book to her, and reminded her, Keep this book safe. Oh, Bai Lian took it slowly and tilted her head. I'll ask Ning Xiao and the others if they want to take a look, and then I'll bring it back to you. The eyes of the 8th grade homeroom teacher lit up. All right, you can go back now. The auditorium. Ren Wongshuan and the others began to pack up their things to leave early. They couldn't keep Dr. Gaff's teaching assistant waiting. Chen Zhu glanced in the direction of the homeroom teacher, and then, as he withdrew his gaze, suddenly saw Bai Lian beside him. Bai Lian had just returned to her seat. She was putting a book back into her school bag. Normally, he wouldn't pay attention to Bai Lian or bother with what she was reading. However, today he recognized that book. It was the physics at Jiangjing University he had seen on the homeroom teacher's desk that morning. Chen Zhu took a deep breath. A feeling of incomprehension and disappointment surged to his forehead. The students from the 8th grade, relative to others in the school, held a sense of superiority, which made his incomprehension all the greater. Why would the homeroom teacher rather lend the book to possibly clueless Bai Lian, instead of to him and Ren Wongshuan? "Why are you moving so slowly today?" Ren Wongshuan had finished packing up and was waiting for him on the side. They needed to hurry to meet with Dr. Gaff's teaching assistant. In the past, everyone was very active, but today, Chen Zhu was significantly slower. There were many people in the lecture hall, and Chen Zhu knew not to reveal Bai Lian's kinship with the Ren family, so he kept silent. It wasn't until they got in the car that he asked, "What's the deal with your relative anyway?" Ren Wongshuan knew he was referring to Bai Lian and responded indifferently. "What kind of deal could there be? On Purist Street, my grandfather and the others have checked. There are household registrations at the Jai family," she said. "What about her?" "It's strange." Chen Zhu looked out the car window, his handsome eyes furrowed with puzzlement. Why would the class teacher lend Jiangjing University's Benda to her? Ren Wongshuan was looking at the address Dr. Gaff's teaching assistant sent her. Upon hearing this, she suddenly looked up. "Are you sure?" "Very likely." He was almost certain he hadn't seen it wrong. Xiancheng, CRFS Research Institute. Jiang Fulai's gaze was fixed on the detector, holding a cardboard in one hand and a pen in the other, his whole expression cast in the lab's subdued darkness, his countenance sharp and cold. This made the team members behind him nervous to even breathe loudly. "The chances of producing deuterium are slim. Increase exploration into gamma radiation." He jotted down a few notes hastily, turned his head, handed the notebook to his assistant, and asked, "You know the principal, right?" He looked up and randomly picked a team member. The team member stood tall and proud, and thanks to He Wen's recording pen, they could repeatedly review anything they had forgotten. "When deuterium enters the detector, it will be captured by atoms to form exotic atoms, thereby releasing gamma rays." Seeing that he could answer smoothly, the hearts that other team members had in their throats instantly settled back down. Jiang Fulai withdrew his gaze. They were much more manageable now. As Jiang Fulai walked outside, he began to undo the buttons of his radiation suit, his voice indifferent. "Send the experiment report to my email." The assistant, holding the notebook, followed closely behind him. "Right." Jiang Fulai's fingertips paused on a deep blue button, his eyes slightly narrowed. "Get 2 invitation codes for Jiangjing University's preparatory camp." "All right," the assistant noted it in the schedule. Jiang Fulai had no other matters, so he leisurely placed the jacket in the resting room and took his phone to the lift. He had been returning quite early recently. Of course, this early was relative to his past schedule. The assistant stood outside the lift, and only when the lift reached the ground level did he feel free from the other's pressure. Then he remembered what Jiang Fulai had instructed, to get the preparatory camp invitation codes from Jiangjing University. It wasn't just about Jiang Fulai's status in the Jiangjing physics community. Considering the Jiang family's annual research funding to Jiangjing University, let alone 2 invitation codes, if he asked them to change the name of the camp, they wouldn't hesitate. But why did he want the invitation codes? Those allowed in his lab were prodigies that Jiangjing University eagerly sent. Each had an account for the preparatory camp. The assistant couldn't figure it out, but he didn't dare to speculate either. The big shot must have his reasons for doing things. Thursday, with monthly exams coming up on the weekend, Zhang Shais didn't go out to fool around during the long class break. Instead, he sat in the classroom and reviewed. "Ah, damn English," Zhang Shais, looking at the word abandon, felt it was his archenemy. "I've never hated Emperor Jiang Wen so much, really." Zhang Shais complained to his desk mate. If only Bai Li know, if either Bai Zhangyu or Bai Xiangjun had lived 10 more years, maybe we wouldn't have to study this damn English. Let me be reborn in the great Yang dynasty. I'd go out of my way to kill Emperor Jiang Wen. His desk mate agreed wholeheartedly. Zhang Shi's nodded in satisfaction and patted his desk mate's shoulder. What do you think, genius? Ning Xiao glanced at him, didn't reply, just called Bai Lian and pointed out the parts of the notes that weren't clear to her. Ning Xiao's complexion was pale as he asked, "Did you understand it last night?" After listening last night, Bai Lian had gone to eat, and he didn't dare to say he hadn't noted everything. Bai Lian turned around, one hand lazily resting on the back of her chair, the other holding a pen sketching on his notebook, her fingertips luminous and white. Assuming the magnetic induction strength in each direction, the magnetic field distribution function is this formula. You can deduce the leading phase. She spoke slowly and methodically, and her explanation was unexpectedly clear. Zhang Shi's, who clearly hadn't studied competition problems, even felt for a moment like he understood. Ning Xiao found it somewhat terrifying and gave Bai Lian a look, his usually somber face showing surprise. Do you have a photographic memory? How can she understand it all after listening just once? And even though her explanation methods are completely different from Jiang Fulai's, they seem clearer. Ning Xiao had always been confident in his studies, but now after Jiang Fulai, it's Bai Lian. Even that kid often makes him doubt life. Bai Lian twirled her pen leisurely between her fingers, then suddenly grasped it, pondering the meaning of image memory, and nodded, possibly. Ning Xiao took back his notebook. I've only built a memory palace not as fast as you, nor is my comprehension as good as yours. Zhang Shi's, who was still memorizing, abandoned, went to look up the meanings of image memory and memory palace. After searching, he was dumbstruck. How nice. The person in front of me, image memory. My seatmate, memory palace, me. 7-second memory. Zhang Shi's, expressionless, put away his phone, angrily flipped open his vocabulary book, and after a page, he looked enviously, jealously, and resentfully at his seatmate and the person in front of him. There are so many people in the world with good memories. What difference would one more make? After Bai Lian and Ning Xiao finished discussing the problem, Pu Ziohen finally turned around to talk to Bai Lian. Bai Lian, look. Pu Ziohen stealthily took out her phone, showed her a picture. This is the sword dance outfit we picked for you. What do you think? Bai Lian looked up. It was a traditional outfit, a white jacket with gold trim on top and a red skirt with black and gold embroidered layers below. I'll think you'll definitely look good in it, Pu Ziohen said, eyes wide with anticipation. She found Bai Lian stunning the first time she came wearing a horse face skirt, despite its simplicity. It was just a bit too plain in color. So this time, she deliberately chose a red palette. The most beautiful person deserves the most brilliant colors. Bai Lian! Seeing Bai Lian's lack of reaction, Pu Ziohen couldn't help but call her again. Bai Lian looked at the picture and came back to her senses. Her long, black eyelashes drooped slightly, concealing her dark pupils. She propped her chin with her hand, appearing somewhat indolent. Thank you, but I don't wear these colors anymore. Ah, well, okay. Pu Ziohen touched her nose, a bit disappointed but didn't inquire further. How about this smoky blue then? She flipped to another picture. Bai Lian gently lifted her gaze and smiled lazily at Pu Ziohen. No need, all my clothes are made by my grandfather. I'll find a suitable one when the time comes. Just match it with a longsword for me. Every piece of clothing made by Jai Heng could be displayed on stage. Sometimes Bai Lian felt that having such skillful craftsmanship for making her clothes might be a bit of a waste. Don't need it. Pu Ziohen was persistent. She still wanted to buy Bai Lian a pretty dress. We still have a lot of class fund left. Seeing Bai Lian truly had no interest, she could only give up that idea and pick out a longsword for Bai Lian. If she couldn't buy clothes, then they'd buy the most beautiful longsword, training class. After watching the video lecture, Bai Lian took out her phone, typed slowly and methodically, inquiring Jiang Fulai, I've finished watching the physics lecture. Can I give the book to the teacher? On the other side of the phone, just as Jiang Fulai had taken off his glasses, he saw the message. He didn't know what others thought, but teacher Jiang genuinely found someone very cute, always asking him for advice. Teacher Jiang, it's yours to do with as you wish since I gave it to you. Only after receiving the message did Bai Lian put her phone away. She looked up and poked Ning Zio's shoulder with her pen. I'll have a book, are you interested? What book? Ning Zio turned around and asked in a low voice. Bai Lian pulled out the Jiangjing University physics book and showed it to him. This one. None in the lecture hall noticed Bai Lian at this moment. However, today, Chen Zhu, who had been paying attention to Bai Lian, confirmed that the book she was holding was indeed the Jiangjing University physics book. He hadn't missing it yesterday. Next to Chen Zhu, Ren Wangshuan also noticed his gaze and looked toward Bai Lian's direction. She actually gave it to her. It was hard for her not to feel envious. She hadn't quite believed what Chen Zhu said yesterday until she saw it with her own eyes today. The class teacher of Class 8 finished distributing the evening's exercises. Everyone, do the problems well. The principal is calling me for a meeting. If you have any questions, contact me on WeChat or ask me tomorrow. With that, he turned and left the room. Teacher! Ren Wangshuan took a deep breath and stood up amidst everyone's gaze. Ren Wangshuan, the class teacher, had just reached the door of the lecture hall when he heard her and stopped, somewhat surprised. Do you have a question? Clutching her bag, Ren Wangshuan looked at the class teacher and spoke amidst all the eyes on her. Teacher, I've always trusted you. But why? You must know how poor Bai Lian's comprehensive science grade is, and you can't be unaware of the influence that got her in here. So why do you favor her at every turn? At these words, Bai Lian looked up, narrowing her eyes at Ren Wangshuan. The Class 8 teacher, upon hearing Ren Wangshuan's accusation, was stunned. I'm favoring her. You refused to lend me the Jiangjing University physics book yesterday. Chen Zhu hadn't expected Ren Wangshuan to speak up so directly. He glanced at Bai Lian with a complicated look, hesitating for a moment before still siding with Ren Wangshuan. But clearly, you lent it to Bai Lian today. If Ren Wangshuan's earlier remark wasn't much of anything, Chen Zhu's statement caused a stir in the lecture hall. Every top student here had heard of the Jiangjing University physics book. Everyone was selfish. Why lend the book to Bai Lian and not tell the rest of them? All eyes turned in Bai Lian's direction. Bai Lian still sat in her chair in the same posture, her dark and clear eyes calm and composed, her pale and slender fingers loosely holding the Jiangjing University physics book. Under everyone's scrutiny, she lazily twirled the book, a stray lock of black hair casually resting on her brow. She didn't care about anyone's gaze at all. The Class 8 teacher also came to his senses, and finally understood why the people in the training class had been so keen to avoid Bai Lian. Whose influence did she rely on to get into the training class? The Class 8 teacher returned to the podium. He met Ren Wangshuan's stare without any hint of backing down. Ren Wangshuan's mouth still held a mocking smile, not wanting the class teacher to skirt around the issue. How did she get into the training class with a score of 85? You're playing dumb. In her eyes, Bai Lian was just one of the many on Purist Street. Apart from the Ren family, what other connections could Bai Lian possibly have? The rest of the training class shared a similar sentiment to Ren Wangshuan's. They had all entered based on their own abilities, so it was only natural for this prideful group of top students to look down upon Bai Lian, a suddenly introduced enigma. There should be a trusting relationship between students and teachers. The class teacher nodded his head, looking at Ren Wangshuan. Miss Ren, Mr. Chen, let's first address this question, shall we? Just then, his phone rang. It was the principal. Old Li, why haven't you arrived yet? I have some good news. Perfect timing, principal. The class teacher's voice was even as he interrupted. Elle would like to ask, whose influence did Bai Lian rely on to get into the training class? Ren Wangshuan watched the class teacher calmly. The scorn on her lips seemed to say, see how you'll spin this tale. What influence? In the silent classroom, the principal's voice came clearly through the speaker, quite surprised. Bai Lian was specially recruited because of her data on vortex ring collisions. Didn't I tell you about this last time you asked? Old Li, are you losing memory with age? After finishing, the principal added sternly, the sensitivity with which student Bai Lian handles data is simply unprecedented. Old Li, you have to keep an eye on her for me. Many people are watching her closely. We absolutely cannot let her sneak off to study the humanities." The entire lecture hall was silent enough to hear a pin drop. Most people present knew what a vortex collision was, but only on a superficial level. Even the arrogant Ren Wangshuan and Chen Zhu dared not claim they knew much about it. As for the vortex collision data, that must be something that only certain laboratories could produce. Wasn't the new student's integrated science score 85? How sensitive was she to data to be recruited out of the ordinary by the training class? So, why did Wangshuan say at the time that Bai Lian got in through connections? Everyone's gaze subconsciously shifted towards Ren Wangshuan. The sarcasm frozen at the corners of Ren Wangshuan's mouth. She had always believed that Jai Sheorong must have spoken to the school, given the Ren family's connection. She didn't believe the Jai family wouldn't use it. But now, she felt the questioning, puzzled looks from the people around, and Ren Wangshuan felt she couldn't stay in the classroom for another second. "Hey, old Li, are you listening?" The principal had been talking to himself for a while with no response. The homeroom teacher of Class 8 snapped out of it. "Principal, let me explain in a moment. Let's move on to the second issue now." He hung up the phone and turned to Chen Zhu. "Chen Zhu, you got a character just now, the character Borrow." Chen Zhu was also stunned. He gazed blankly at the homeroom teacher of Class 8 for a moment as if realizing something. At the same time, the homeroom teacher of Class 8 looked at him dispassionately, his tone filled with extreme disappointment. "You've guessed it. That's right, the book originally belonged to student Bai Lian. Do I need to seek your and Ren Wangshuan's opinion to return her book? I find it hard to believe that you even said that." No one spoke. Chen Zhu opened and closed his mouth, then sat back in his seat, dazed. He had thought of 1,000 possibilities, but the one thing he did not anticipate was that the book belonged to Bai Lian. Neither he nor Ren Wangshuan had a way to get their hands on this book. Where had Bai Lian found the means? Especially since he had just now been questioning the teacher for lending the book to Bai Lian. So it turned out the book was hers all along. "I do not know how the rumor that student Bai Lian got in through connections started." The homeroom teacher looked around the silent amphitheater classroom. "But as students who have received 10 years of education, you must understand the great harm that rumors can cause to a person. Spreading rumors and defaming others in private." The homeroom teacher looked at them, disappointment in his eyes. "I was just pondering why such an incident would occur among you top students, or perhaps there's a problem with my teaching methods." His final gaze rested on Bai Lian. For a moment, he really wanted to know who her teacher was, to be able to teach someone like her. From her, he seemed to understand the meaning of the words cautious in solitude. Most of the time, he wouldn't tell Bai Lian too much, to prevent her cleanliness from being tainted. The homeroom teacher withdrew his gaze and left the amphitheater with his phone in hand. But as he left, his steps were no longer as light as before. From 7:30 to 8 o'clock, the normally noisy training class was silent this time. They all knew Bai Lian had a book from Jiangjing University's physics department. Many wanted to borrow it. Everyone knew how helpful that book could be to them. "Thank you," Ning Zio accepted the Jiangjing University physics book from Bai Lian amidst all the stares. "I'll return it to you when I'm done reading." "No rush." Bai Lian, holding a black pen in her right hand, lazily wrote down a set of formulas on paper. "I've finished reading. Take your time." All the others watched Ning Zio hold the book with fervent gazes. Who would have thought that the book Chen Zhu and Ren Wangshuan couldn't get would be so casually lent by Bai Lian to Ning Zio? Ning Zio ignored everyone's gazes as he casually placed the book on the table. "Let's go!" Ren Wangshuan couldn't precisely identify her feelings. The Jai family, whom she always looked down upon, had something beyond her imagination. Dr. Gao must be getting impatient. Only Dr. Gao could slightly calm her envious heart at this moment. She didn't look towards Bai Lian, grabbed her backpack, and left. Ordinarily, most people paid attention to her and Chen Zhu's movements, but today, no one spared them a second glance. At 8 o'clock, most people had left, and a circle of people surrounded Tang Ming. "Tang Ming, have you read the Jiangjing University physics book?" They were usually on good terms with him. Their tone was envious now. Ning Zio was a loner, and few people in the training class dared to talk to him. Tang Ming hurriedly packed up his books, Jiangjing University Physics. Bai Lian just asked if I wanted to see it, but I'm too busy right now, so I let Ning Xiao read it first. Hey Ning Xiao, wait for me. Now every day he felt that even deciphering Jiang Fulai's analysis was strenuous, let alone being like those two freaks who could still manage to read other books. Zhu Jiren. A few people familiar with Zhu Jiren also spoke up. Your group is so lucky, having a physics book from Jiangjing University. No idea if I'll ever get the chance to own one in my lifetime. Zhu Jiren's mouth, however, was very stiff. Others didn't understand, but Zhu Jiren was very clear that since the group was formed, she had barely spoken a word to Bai Lian. Every evening, she found an excuse to go back to her dormitory during their discussions. She packed up her things, pushed past the others, and hastened to Tolo Tangming. Tangming, you... Zhu Jiren. Tangming saw her and alarms went off in his head. You should be going back to wash your hair, right? See you in a couple of days. Zhu Jiren's face froze in place. Washing hair was an excuse she had made up herself, but now she found herself unable to rebut. She could only watch Tang Ming's retreating figure leave the area. Now she seemed to understand what the class teacher of Class 8 meant by sociable. This weekend was the monthly test, Friday evening in the training class. After playing the recorded screen, the head teacher of Class 8, who wasn't known for his mirth, made a rare smile and had some good news to announce. Propping his hands on the lectern, he said, I'll have some good news for everyone. Those who wanted to copy the video stopped and waited for the head teacher to pronounce the good news. The mood of the head teacher of Class 8 was obviously good as he scanned the people in the tiered classroom. During yesterday's meeting, the principal mentioned that the number of registration slots for the preparatory camp has increased by 1, meaning our class will now have 2 spots. 2. The school hadn't even had 1 spot before, and now it could have 2. The training class, which had been quiet due to Ren Wangshuan's incident, finally came alive. Teacher, how come there are 2 spots? Someone asked excitedly, raising their hand. The head teacher shook his head. I'm not sure, but it's good news for us. So, I hope everyone will put in extra effort and believe that anything is possible. Hearing it was not about studying, Bai Lian began to get distracted. She pulled out practice problems, bent one hand to hold down the workbook, and started to calculate with a pen, exuding a casual air. Ning Xiao and Tang Ming were sitting in front of her, occasionally exchanging words. Most of the time it was Tang Ming asking Ning Xiao, something he hadn't dared to do before. But having seen Jiang Fulai, he felt the gloomy Ning Xiao was 1,000 times more approachable than Jiang Fulai. As for the spots, Tang Ming was relatively indifferent. He thought the half-hour of analysis at night was more important than the spot. Most people in the training class were excited until someone murmured softly, "Why bother with this effort? An extra one has nothing to do with us. It's clearly for those 2. SHHH, the discussion stopped, and all eyes turned to Chen Zhu and Ren Wangshuan. Ren Wangshuan and Chen Zhu glanced at each other, and even with her excellent manners, Ren Wangshuan couldn't hide her excitement and subtle sense of superiority at that moment. Initially, she was worried about competing with Chen Zhu, whom she could not outdo. Of course, Ren Kaiyan didn't want her to compete with Chen Zhu either because, due to Director Chen's influence, the Ren family wanted to do a favor for the Chen family. Now that there was an additional spot, that was just right for her and Chen Zhu. With Dr. Gaff's influence, she hadn't thought that anyone else could compete with them. Ren Wangshuan, having been feeling depressed about Bai Lian's incident these past few days, could finally breathe a sigh of relief. It would be better to acquire the Jiangjing University physics book, but the most crucial thing at the moment was the slot for the Jiangjing preparatory camp. Chen Zhu shared her thoughts. He looked towards Ning Xiao. At the school, Ning Xiao got better grades than him more often, but this time, Ning Xiao no longer had the chance to compete with him. The weekend was Xiangcheng Noel Middle School's monthly test. On Saturday morning, they tested Chinese. In the afternoon, they had maths and English together. Sunday morning, they finished with comprehensive science, and then they were off. Bai Lian participated in the tests for the first time, together with Zhang Shai's in the last classroom. After the examination, she heard Zhang Shai's crying out from behind. What on earth was that physics test about? I guessed the multiple choice questions by rolling dice, and the essay questions were so long I didn't even understand them. Bai Lian packed up and walked out. On the weekend, the school did not require uniforms, so she wore a long dress in a pale ice blue color, embroidered with orchids, spotless and refined. She was carrying a backpack made by Jai Heng, casually took out her cell phone to turn it on, revealing a wrist that was excessively white. Her demeanor did not match at all with the rest of the people in the last exam room. Only Zhang Shais dared to talk to her. He scratched his head, looking for comfort from the top student. "Did you finish writing?" he asked Bai Lian. Bai Lian shook her head. "No." "That's good." Zhang Shais breathed a sigh of relief. "Even you haven't finished it, so the physics teacher probably won't scold me this time." Bai Lian glanced at him and didn't tell him that she had finished everything in physics. She looked down to reply to Jiang Fulai's WeChat message. "I'll take the bus in the afternoon, Teacher Jiang." "Okay, I'll be back in the afternoon." Jiang he had said the tokamak could be disassembled, but Bai Lian had no time this week other than for classes and tutoring. Only today did she finally have some time. She took the bus back to Purist Street. As soon as she got off the bus, she saw Mao Kun squatting alone at the bus stop, looking glum. "What happened?" She noticed the bruise on Mao Kun's face. "My godfather had it made for you." Mao Kun handed the item to Bai Lian, touching his head. "The Baxter Street's Fight Club guys beat me up." The Fight Club was the strongest presence on Baxter Street. "Thank you." Bai Lian didn't reply to that, just took the package of wool needles he handed over, and didn't glance at him until she was on her way to Purist Street. "So weak." Mao Kun wanted to cry. "Wait for me here in this alley at 10 o'clock tonight." She turned and entered the alley. When Mao Kun looked up, all he saw was a wisp of light blue skirt hem fluttering by. Nio Kun pondered her words. Suddenly excited, he ran to the number 112 grocery store and worked for a while. The store manager was now more easygoing with Xiaomo. "Xiaomo, Alien is right. You're a good kid." He handed a bottle of want milk to Mao Kun. Mao Kun grinned foolishly, carrying the milk as he moved the goods inside, just in time to see 2 patrolling policemen. He glanced at them, and despite his injured face, he was cocky. "What are you looking at, dead?" "Xiaomo," the store manager said sternly. "Be polite to the police officers." Xiaomo grudgingly uttered, "Oh." Then, when the manager wasn't looking, he turned back and glared fiercely at the 2 men. The 2 uncles, who had just been notified of Xiaomo's scuffle with a mercenary, in Jai Heng's courtyard. Today was Jai Heng's birthday, and Jai Shaojun along with Shen Qing had both come. Shen Qing wore a sycophantic smile on her face, bustling about and serving tea and water to a tall woman in formal attire. "President Ren, please have a seat and rest for a bit. They'll be a while longer." Shen Qing wiped the chair that had been brought out with her sleeve, placed it next to the woman, and looked up with an eager-to-please expression in her eyes. Jai Shaojun and Jai Shaorong were busy in the kitchen. Ren Jiawei, dressed in a beige suit, holding a mobile phone, looked distinguished and shrewd with her slightly narrowed eyes. She ignored Shen Qing. Beside Ren Jiawei, her secretary looked up and down at Shen Qing with a faint smile, saying, "No need to bother. If President Ren needs anything, I'll take care of it." Shen Qing, under the secretary's meaningful gaze, chuckled awkwardly and stepped aside. Someone pushed open the gate to the courtyard. Ren Jiawei narrowed her eyes and looked over, focusing on the newly arrived girl, assessing her. Ren Jiawei had heard about this niece from her father, daughter, and Jai Shaorong, but this was their first meeting. The girl was dressed in a light blue dress, the brand of which was unrecognizable, probably made by Jai Heng. She had seen Ren Wangshuan bring many back, but Jai Heng had put them all away. "Miss Bai," the secretary, who had met Bai Lian a few times, greeted her with a smile. At the same time, he conveyed to Ren Jiawei, "This is Bai Lian." "Bai Lian," she spoke up, her eyes half closed. Shen Qing quickly began to speak, lest Bai Lian's temperament inadvertently upset the Ren family. "Alien, this is your second aunt. Greet her." Bai Lian guessed who it might be, took off her headphones while nodding to the secretary, then acknowledged Ren Jiawei with a nod. As good as greeting her. Ren Qian and Shen Qing had both said Bai Lian was very polite, Yet today it seemed just the opposite. Ren Jiawei held her phone, her brow furrowing slightly. She was never one for beating around the bush. Wang Xuan said you have the Jiangjing physics book. How much would it cost to sell it to me? Bai Lian's dark pupils slightly constricted, a strand of untied hair drifting down to rest on her pale neck. Her tone was very calm. Not for sale. 200,000, is that enough? Ren Jiawei lifted her chin. In her eyes, 200,000 was more than enough. People on this street might not save that much in 10 years, and the sum was more than sufficient for a single book. Bai Lian didn't acknowledge her at all, walking straight to her room. No one expected Bai Lian to react this way. The secretary was momentarily startled. He took a couple of steps to catch up with Bai Lian, lowering his voice. Miss Bai, President Ren came today for this matter. You won't understand the book, so sell it to Miss Wangshuan. Consider it a favor owed to you by the Ren family. It's just a book. Surely you're not so small-minded. The Secretary General visited more frequently than Ren Jiawei, and this time, Ren Jiawei had made a point of bringing him along. He had thought that getting the book from Bai Lian would be a matter of a simple request. Not to mention that they were offering a sum that far exceeded the book's value. Just the Ren family's reputation alone left him baffled as to why Bai Lian refused almost without consideration. Of course, I'm absolutely petty. The fact that you're still standing here breathing. Bai Lian halted in her tracks, tossing her earphones aside, giving him a glance, is already the limit of my patience, so you'd better act the part in front of my grandfather. The Secretary General, used to currying favor and bullying those below him, spared the Jai family a glance only because of Ren Kaiyan's high regard. Yet he hadn't expected Bai Lian, whom he had dismissed, to not give him the slightest amount of face. At this moment, the smile froze on his lips. In the main hall, Jai Heng wore reading glasses. He held a handkerchief in his left hand, and between his right thumb and forefinger was a newly acquired smoking pipe. Bai Lian recognized it, the smoking pipe that Jai Sheijun had picked out for him at a department store on their trip to Baikeng. Jai Heng pushed up his glasses with his handkerchief-holding hand and looked at the people in the courtyard. Has Alien returned? Come and look at the embroidered pattern I've done for you. He sensed something was off among the group, but he chose not to mention he simply addressed Bai Lian with an easygoing manner. Grandfather, Bai Lian didn't return to her room but placed her book bag on the stone table in the courtyard and embraced Jai Heng's shoulders. Why are you still embroidering today? He took a puff of his pipe, the light smoke drifting away. The Secretary General, smelling the low-quality tobacco, frowned subtly without showing it. Through the haze of smoke, Bai Lian, slightly turning her head, sneered arrogantly at the Secretary General. Mouthing silently, "Don't cause trouble," the Secretary General subdued the chill in his eyes, and upon looking up at Ren Jiawei, expressed great confusion. President Ren, you see, in Xiang Cheng, who didn't give a wide berth to the Ren family. Even the recently prominent Chen family wouldn't dare to be so bold with him. Oh, President Ren, Shen Qing quickly intervened, a bit afraid that Ren Jiawei would take her anger out on him. Alien is just acting like a child. Don't pay her any mind. About that book, right? I'll talk to her again tonight. Ren Jiawei ignored Shen Qing. She looked thoughtfully at Bai Lian, politely greeting Jai Heng with indifference. Happy birthday. I have another meeting and must be going now. Jai Heng took a puff of his pipe and simply responded with a hum. After Jai Heng and Bai Lian went inside, she gave the Secretary General a glance. All right, if it's not for sale, it's not for sale. I have another meeting to attend. She took out her cell phone to reply to a message while walking toward the exit. Ren Jiawei worked in fashion, the complete opposite of Jai Heng. The clash between trend and tradition. The two couldn't stand each other. She firmly believed that every trend and development had its place in time, whereas it was time for Jai Heng to change his old-fashioned ways. Jai Heng, however, persisted, and since Ren Jiawei couldn't persuade him, she let it be. All right, the Secretary General nodded. He saw Ren Jiawei out. Ren Jiawei meandered her way to her car parked on Purist Street, and then she made a call to Ren Kaiyan. Is this what you call obedient? She asked after driving a bit and parking the car on the roadside, laughing. Are you trying to fool me? What happened? Ren Kaiyan had just stepped out of a meeting, his tone surprised. He set aside the notebook that was beside him. "Elle just went to the Jai family to buy that book from your well-mannered niece you mentioned." Ren Jiawei spoke as she held the phone in one hand and rested the other on the steering wheel, with the shadows of passing trees enveloping her. Having heard from Jai Sheorong that his niece wasn't doing very well in her studies, she had started to contemplate grooming her niece. But Ren Wongshuan's description of Bai Lian had given Ren Jiawei some second thoughts. Thinking Bai Lian to be of Shen Qing's ilk, Ren Jiawei had begun with a sense of reservation. Ren Jiawei thought about the clothes Bai Lian wore, made by Jai Heng. This niece seemed to have an innate rebelliousness, similar to but also distinct from Jai Heng. "She didn't give it to you?" Ren Kaiyan was also surprised. "She's not like Shen Qing, but preferable to old Jai T's obstinacy," Ren Jiawei remarked, then added, "I'll have another meeting. I'll hang up now." She ended the call. On the other end of the phone, Ren Kaiyan was accustomed to Ren Jiawei's brisk attitude. He called the Secretary General to inquire about the matter. "It's more than just not giving." The Secretary General, having just left, walked through the alley. He couldn't be bothered to mention Bai Lian's demeanor. With her level of manners not even amounting to 1/10 of Ren Wongshuan's, she's like two different people. "Let's talk about that later." Ren Kaiyan was very surprised, pondering Ren Jiawei's phrase, born rebellious. "Don't take your negotiating table attitude towards their family members." Ren Kaiyan wasn't too clear about that book, but seeing Ren Wongshuan and Chen Zhu's demeanor, he knew it was significant. "Sir," the Secretary General, as Ren Kaiyan's confidant, was someone people were exceptionally cautious around on regular days. He glanced coldly at the courtyard behind him, but his voice was incongruously respectful as he indicated Ren Kaiyan undervalued himself. "You've really lowered yourself for them, but once you're not present, that entire Jai family doesn't even pretend." The Secretary General was accustomed to giving orders. Over time, he had forgotten that he too had started from the ground up. He was deferential and cautious in front of Ren Kaiyan, but certainly not in front of others. Ren Kaiyan was taken aback. He pondered for a long while and naturally had no suspicion of his secretary. The Jai family is established in their ways, and Bai Lian is a bit youthful and impulsive. Can't you look at the bigger picture and avoid squabbling with them? In simpler terms, he felt the Jai family wasn't worth his temper. Ren Kaiyan said softly, "Let's put off inviting her to the Ren family for now." "I'll understand, sir," the Secretary General said respectfully. He listened to the slightly displeased tone in Ren Kaiyan's voice and smiled faintly. The Ren family had long intended to invite Bai Lian to their household. Today, because of his single remark, the Ren family shelved the idea. He was Ren Kaiyan's right-hand man, skilled in flattery and deceit. Even Ren Wongshuan had to address him as uncle when she saw him. But nobody dared to show him disdain like Bai Lian did. After some thought, the Secretary General pulled out his cell phone and reported the news to Ren Wongshuan. At the Jai family. In the end, Ren Kaiyan's Secretary General didn't stay for dinner, leaving only the family, which was rather harmonious. Jai Heng placed the wool needle given by Bai Lian at his side, holding in one hand the smoking pipe given by Jai Sheojun, and beside him, the tobacco provided by Jai Sheorong. Shen Qing and Bai Lian helped bring the dishes to the table. Jai Sheojun, with a stack of bowls, served rice to everyone from the pot, watching through the window as Jai Heng examined the wool needle closely. "How did you know today was your grandfather's birthday?" he whispered to Bai Lian as she came from the kitchen with dishes. Bai Lian, her head lowered as she carefully carried a pot of soup, her entire being appearing cool in her snow-green dress, smiled. "Isn't that the reason you secretly bought the smoking pipe?" "Pure alarmist talk." Jai Sheojun immediately turned away, unwilling to confront the issue. "When have one ever secretly bought anything?" Bai Lian raised an eyebrow, holding the soup as she left the kitchen. Shen Qing came in just in time to see her, delicate snow-colored fingers holding the freshly stewed clay pot. She hurriedly spoke up. "Why don't you use a cloth as a mat?" "Give it to me here." She took the clay pot from Bai Lian's hands. "You go set the chopsticks." Clearly, a person raised in a wealthy home, unfamiliar with common-sense living. Bai Lian touched her nose. She hadn't felt the heat, but obviously Shen Qing didn't believe her. She silently went to set the chopsticks. At the dining table, Jai Heng sat beside her. Jai Sheorong and Jai Sheajun were looking at the wool needle Bai Lian had made for him. Embroidery was falling out of step with the times, so much so that wool needles were nearly obsolete. With few people using them, there were no shops that could sharpen them in all of Xiancheng. The bag containing the wool needle was even faintly marked with the symbol of a white tiger, yet none of those present paid attention to this emblem. If someone from the Ren family had been there, they would have recognized it immediately. It was unmistakably the white tiger auction house's symbol. The meal was more peaceful without the Ren family members. After dinner, Shen Qing and Jai Sheajun cleared the dishes. So, did Alien really leave the Bai family? In the kitchen, Shen Qing took the opportunity without anyone else around to ask Jai Sheajun in a low voice. Yes, Jai Sheajun said while he wiped the dishes dry, not lifting his head. Her household registration has been transferred over. Hey, I say to you Jai family people. Shen Qing couldn't contain her irritation. What's wrong with you? Such a big family, even if they don't like you, wouldn't it be better not to leave? Drinking the soup is also good. Do you think she's being silly? She stopped mid-sentence upon seeing Jai hang through the window. Shen Qing snatched the bowl from Jai Sheajun's hands. Get out! I don't want to see you right now. In the afternoon, Jai Heng and the others were going to Purist Street to worship the tree god. Bai Lian was going to Jianghe's place, so she grabbed her backpack, ready to head straight there by car after worshiping the tree god. Shen Qing walked behind her, and seeing the three men ahead were not paying attention, she finally lowered her voice. Why didn't you agree to what Ren Kaiyan said at noon? It would be good for you too. Now that you've come to Xiancheng, won't you have to get by here from now on? Bai Lian held the headphones for vocabulary study and turned down the volume when Shen Qing asked a question. Oh, I have a good handle on that. Bai Lian's rosy lips twitched slightly as she reached out and plucked a leaf from Shen Qing's hair, her dark eyes full of nonchalance. Shen Qing tilted her head, looking at Bai Lian's half-lowered long lashes, her almond-shaped eyes slightly narrowed. She was at a loss for words. Bai Lian now looked much more pleasant to the eye than she had a few years ago. Both families were wealthy, but the Bai family had far more depth than the Ren family. She had not expected Bai Lian to be so polite to her and the Jai family's people. The Ren family had always looked down on them with disdain. Shen Qing, who had grown up in the slums, was accustomed to being humble and lowering her stance in front of them, because she'd seen these people change the trajectories of common folks' lives with just a word. Shen Qing said no more, but an eerie thought emerged at the bottom of her heart. If Jai Sheajun asked Bai Lian to move in now, she probably wouldn't refuse. The manor at the heart of Xiancheng. Chief Chen was extremely restless as he sat downstairs, sipping tea he had poured for himself, cautiously using his peripheral vision to glance at Jiang Fulai standing by the lattice window. Jiang Fulai, at home, was only wearing a comfortable black loungewear. His jade-like hand was holding a black headset, his tone cold. So you didn't even bother to use your brains? Has Jiang Ziju's brain been invaded by you as well? Chief Chen prayed for the person on the other end of the phone while wondering why he had chosen to come today. He'd heard through the grapevine that Jiang Fulai was in a good mood recently. Chief Chen held his teacup, attempting to ease his nerves. Jiang He had been crouched at the front door, and Chief Chen found himself wishing he could join him. As he pondered this, the sound of tires against the road came from outside. Upon looking up, he saw Ming Dingheng step in with a girl. With just one glance, Chief Chen recognized her, the same girl he had seen here before. As soon as Bai Lian entered, she spotted Jiang He crouching at the door. She reached out to grab the back of his neck, hoisting him up, her eyebrows lazily arched. "Little Wenmeng, what are you squatting here for?" Bai Lian didn't bother to keep her voice down, and her presence pierced through the empty, chilling silence of the grand hall. Chief Chen's eyes widened as he quickly looked at Bai Lian, gesturing for her to lower her voice while silently mourning for her. How could someone be so obliviously untactful in a time like this? Just as he thought this, he saw Jiang Fulai lower his voice. "Report to me later, Jiang Ziju." Then he ended the call. "You're early. Jiang Fulai put his phone into his pocket, his tone even. Let's head to the lab first. He led Bai Lian and Jiang He out. In the hall, Chief Chen, still holding his teacup, looked as if he had seen a ghost. He glanced at Ming Dingheng before tentatively asking, Mr. Ming, as for young Master Jiang. Ming Dingheng, no longer surprised, gave Chief Chen a cold reply of just 4 words. Don't ask too much. The humble Chief Chen didn't dare to say another word. All he thought was, he must have been quite polite to Miss Bai earlier, right? By the way, Chief Chen remembered the actual purpose of his visit. Is your master at the Bachter Street fighting arena? Yeah, Ming Dingheng responded in a low voice. It's no use looking for me, my master won't see me. Young Master Jiang doesn't either. Ah, Chief Chen felt a headache coming on, but your master is the only 8th degree martial arts grandmaster alive today. Ming Dingheng couldn't help. Next door, Jiang Fulai's laboratory. He didn't lift a finger, merely stood with his arms crossed, watching the two dismantle the cyclotron collider. Bai Lian dismantled the inside and observed for a while before finally understanding. So it uses the difference in friction of the outer ring to generate power. It should have a wide range of applications. The collision energy is strong. Right, Jiang Fulai nodded. The mushroom clouds we see in everyday life operate on the same principle. By the time the duo of different ages finished examining the vortex ring, it was almost dark. By the way, as they were leaving the laboratory, Jiang Fulai sent Bai Lian a link. Download this app. Here's an invite code. All the letters are in uppercase. Saying this, he recited a string of characters. He knew Bai Lian's memory. She wouldn't need him to repeat it a second time. Bai Lian and Jiang He came to the hall. The servants brought tea and fruit. Bai Lian and Jiang He sat to one side. Bai Lian picked up her teacup, took a light sniff, and her eyes brightened. Ming Dingheng was observing Bai Lian from his position. Seeing her smelling the tea, he was surprised too. He asked Su Nanjing. Old speckled tea was very expensive in the market. Only families like the Jiangs could splurge on such a luxury. Bai Lian, Miss Bai, who evidently lives on Purist Street, seemed very familiar with old speckled tea. After Bai Lian finished her tea, Jiang He beside her was twisting a Rubik's Cube. She remembered the link Jiang Fulai gave her, so she clicked on it and downloaded the app directly. Once the download was complete, she saw a blue app appear on her phone, Jiangjing University Preparatory Camp. She had heard this app's name countless times, both at the Bai family home and in the training classes in Xiangcheng. The original owner even cheated for this app. Her fingertips tapped on her smartphone screen, and she couldn't help but look up at Jiang Fulai. He was sitting opposite her on the couch, his left hand casually draped over the armrest, talking to Director Chen, who hadn't left yet. When he noticed her looking, his shallow eyes lowered slightly as if asking, "What's wrong?" Without speaking, Bai Lian redirected her gaze. Her pale blue clothes pressed against her overly fair skin, making her eyes black and white, starkly distinct. Her fingertips slowly tapped open the app, and immediately a security key popped up. After entering the key given by Jiang Fulai, she moved to the registration page. Under Jiang He's gaze, she entered her account name with casual indifference by Jian. Jiang He by her side, silently turned around, quietly twisting the Rubik's Cube. After registering, she directly logged into the app. Upon entering, she could see 3 sections, rankings on the right, and this month's question bank and timed challenges on the left. Bai Lian glanced at it. The rankings had 2 columns, this month's points ranking and overall ranking. She opened it to see the monthly scores of freshmen for the current year displayed from top to bottom. Bai Lian slowly scrolling through. No I Liang Wuyu 28,000. 896 no to Su Jiu 28,000. 152 no 39 Song Min 21,000. 589 no 464 by Shayaki 17,000. 453 no 552 by Jian. Oh, so they all use their real names, with barely anyone frivolously using an ID, as Bai Lian did. See that, Liang Wuyu, the hot favorite to become next year's top scholar. One bet 1 million on him. One hope he doesn't disappoint me. Director Chen noticed the page on the app and said proudly. Suddenly, upon seeing Bai Lian at 552, he quickly added, Miss Bai, go for it. As long as you enter the top 300 in the monthly ranking, you have a chance to get into Jiangjing University. I believe in you. When I get home tonight, I'll bet that you can make it into Jiangjing University. Bai Lian raised an eyebrow, and upon hearing total score, she subconsciously clicked next to the total score section and was metaphorically blinded by what she saw. Most people are typically described like this. For instance, Entwo. Jiang Ziju 15,789,258 and 3. Ma Tingfeng 9,987,412 Natin. He Wen 8,547,127. This was normal. Bai Lian glanced at the lower right corner, her own name, and 12,589. Oh, her gaze then moved to the very top Noil. 99,999,999 Bai Lian. All of the mountains look small in comparison. Turning her attention to the difficult monthly ranking points, it was hard to believe that this number one was achieved by a human. She began to suspect if the system's upper limit was perhaps 99,999,999. This style, she shifted her gaze slightly. What's up? Jiang Fulai had asked Ming Dingheng to escort Director Chen upstairs to view the calligraphy and paintings, but he saw Bai Lian holding her phone, lost in thought, looking at him. He walked over, rested one hand on the back of the chair behind Bai Lian, and leaned slightly forward to peek at her phone, his expression reserved and cool. With just one glance, he could see the account she had just accessed, account name. Bai Jian points this month. Oh, total points. Oh, following. Oh, followers. Oh, Jiang Fulai stared at the name Bai Jian for a while, falling into silence. Yu Guang cast a cold glance towards Jiang He. Jiang He's head seemed to be fused with the Rubik's Cube. Depressed, he knocked his head against the Rubik's Cube. You've registered, huh? Jiang Fulai coldly withdrew his gaze from him, unhurriedly pulled out his phone, and re-downloaded the blue app he had previously uninstalled. Yeah, Bai Lian generously showcased her ID. Then she remembered something else, opened WeChat and sent a message to Mao Kun, 4 one-pound sandbags. Bai in the white tank top responded rapidly. Sure thing, sis. 10 o'clock at night. Bai Lian slipped out of the alley after the lights in Jai Heng's room went out, finding Mao Kun already waiting at the entrance of the alley, squatting and smoking. In the darkness, only the faint crimson glow of the cigarette end was visible. Sis! Mao Kun immediately stood up when he saw Bai Lian. Bai Lian, with an earbud in, listening to vocabulary, nonchalantly bent down and picked up the cloth bag he had placed aside. 4 one-pound sandbags, she weighed them in her hand before casually tossing them to Mao Kun, instructing indifferently, tie them to your limbs. Huh! Mao Kun touched his head, then did as she said, tying a sandbag to each limb. He tried walking and found his feet heavy. His hands were also heavy, but Mao Kun was no stranger to exercise, and even with the sandbags, he could still move normally. With only a pound each, he walked like a blundering moth. Bai Lian had not seen anyone so fragile. She moved her gaze away without expression. I'll teach you 2 moves today. Bai Lian, still unwashed and clad in her day's-long dress, handed her phone to Mao Kun. She shifted her weight back, with her left leg slightly bent and right leg feigned. As she flicked her right fist upward and pulled her left fist to her waist, her right foot morphing into a bow stance, and her power rooted in her left hand before she swiftly launched her left fist. Bang! Her left hand, seemingly delicate with visible knuckles when clenched, threw the punch. Mao Kun, with his face barely 3 centimeters away from her fist, felt the wind scatter his yellow hair. He had no doubt that if her fist traveled 3 centimeters further, it could shatter his nasal bone. Bai Lian's hair, tousled by the gust, softly floated back across her forehead under the moonlight, and her face seemed softer than usual. She gracefully retrieved her hand, her pitch-black, clear eyes asking lazily, Did you see clearly? Nio Kun snapped back to reality. He saw, but not in full detail. After 10 minutes of learning the 2 moves, Mao Kun had barely memorized them. Training with sandbags can cause significant harm to the limbs. Bai Lian took back her phone and recited a medicinal formula. Codenopsis, atractylodes, deer antler angelica, and cyperus each 65 grams, chuangsheng, pubescent angelica, eucamia. Grind them together, let it cool, then mix with the medicine to form a paste and spread it on the limbs. After speaking, she saw Mao Kun gazing at her with a clear yet foolish look. Bai Lian. Fine, I'll text it to you. Mao Kun with a near-tears expression. Thank you, sis. Don't you all learn the long fist anymore? No palm techniques, no spear dancing. Bai Lian watched him perform the moves once more, and after a prolonged moment she averted her gaze, asking softly. As she slightly lifted her head, her eyes settled on the fairly round moon above. In the cold moonlight, her gaze was also deep, cold, and distant. Mao Kun had seen a similar expression on Bai Lian before, back at the auction, when he spotted her on Baxter Street. Yet the expression now was slightly different than then. Everyone's learning combat moves. Mao Kun thought for a moment before speaking. These days, many kids learn taekwondo. Few children learn the long fist or spear. And there used to be a martial arts school in Xiangcheng that closed down due to a lack of students. Bai Lian nodded. She withdrew her gaze, lowered her eyes, concealing the emotions at the bottom of her eyes. Come see me at the same time next week. Then replace the sandbag with a 2-pound iron ball. Mao Kun dragged his heavy steps back. When Bai Lian returned, it was already 11 o'clock. Unlike usual, when she would have been solving practice questions, today she did not. Instead, she opened Kaiandu and searched for taekwondo. There were many videos online. There were also lots of promotional ads for training centers, and she repeatedly watched videos of taekwondo. Some from a certain country, quite showy with flashy moves, but of little practical use. Is this what many people are learning now? Bai Lian looked up, gazing quietly out the window. A room, a person, a bright moon. A message suddenly popped up at the top of her phone. It was from the Jiangjing Preparatory Camp, app she had logged into earlier. Bai Lian clicked on it and saw that she had a new follower on her account. She was startled, thinking it was an official account at first, until she followed the follower back to their own account name. L monthly points. O total points. 99,999,999 number of followings. 1 number of followers. 12,587 Bai Lian. Indeed, she had guessed it was him, so she clicked to follow back. She smiled, then went back and closed Kaiandu. In this era of peace and prosperity with clear skies and calm rivers, she would no longer encounter bandits or pirates. There was no need to worry about safety, only to focus on studying. Learning these flourishes should suffice, and she should feel happy about that. Xiangcheng Noel Middle School marked test papers quite quickly. By Monday, basically all the scores were out. The first class in the morning was with Lu Lingxi, and for a change, Zhang Shi's and his group had not arrived late today. As soon as Lu Lingxi entered the classroom, she handed the pile of test papers to the class representative to distribute. This time, the Chinese language test was standard. Class 15 always had good scores in Chinese. Out of 150 points, the average score reached 106, 14 points ahead of the second-place Class 8. After class, Lu Lingxi took the test papers, her gaze shifting to Bai Lian's seat. The girl, dressed in the blue and white school uniform, pulled out her practice question bank as soon as class ended. Her long lashes cast a shadow, and the sunlight from outside the window fell on her brows and eyes, gentle and elegant, as she sat holding a pen, quietly sweeping through questions. Lu Lingxi watched her for a good while before finally speaking. Bai Lian, come out with me for a moment. Bai Lian looked up in slight surprise. She put down her pen and followed Lu Lingxi to the corridor. Bai Lian, Lu Lingxi looked at Bai Lian. Can you tell me what you were thinking with your essay? Essay? Bai Lian raised her head slightly, pondered briefly, then admitted her fault. Teacher, I'm sorry. Her eyelashes fluttered down apologetically. Lu Lingxi was momentarily lost for words. Her voice softened. It's okay, just be more careful next time, especially during the college entrance exams. I'll understand, teacher, Bai Lian nodded. Lu Lingxi smiled and patted her head. Being slightly tall, she bowed her head a little to let Lu Lingxi pat it easily. Go back. After Bai Lian returned, Zhang Shi's and others crowded around her. They all wore puzzled expressions on their faces. What did Luma want with you? She talked to me about my essay. Bai Lian sat back lazily, one leg casually bent, and flipped her notebook open again. Your essay? Zhang Shi's was surprised. Your essay was off topic. No way. The essay this time was simple. As he spoke, he grabbed Bai Lian's casually placed Chinese answer card from the table, exactly 90 points. This time the Chinese test was easy. Even Zhang Shi's got 109 points. How come you only got 90? Zhang Shi's didn't believe it, examining her answer card ahead. There were no mistakes, so how could it be 90? It didn't fit her profile at all. Pu Ziohan also leaned in to look, nodding furiously. What happened? Were some points not added? Yang Lin listened intently as well, until Zhang Shi's turned the page. The essay topic this time was very simple. A set subject essay, giving up is also a form of beauty. The topic was simple, and under normal circumstances, no one would stray off topic. Out of 60 points for the essay, even Zhang Shi's scored a high 40. However, student Bai Lian had written just one line. L will not give up. Even if it means facing a mountain of knives or a sea of fire, I would calmly embrace death. My epitaph will not contain a single word of regret. J. The handwriting was as neat as ever, stroke by stroke, as if it had been copied from a book, orderly and pleasing to the eye. Yet from this precise handwriting, Pu Ziohan and others saw the defiance contained within it. Every stroke and splash of ink was like a backbone. Next to it was a prominently corrected 0. Even the underachieving Zhang Shi's had never seen anyone dare to write such an essay during a monthly exam. Classmate, isn't writing your essay like this a bit too arrogant? Zhang Shi's looked at the desk in front of him, where she was carelessly crunching the numbers with her head down. He suddenly felt again that she could pull it off. Ah! Pu Ziohan touched her nose and borrowed Bai Lian's paper to study characters. The last class of the morning was physics. During the break, the comprehensive science exam papers were handed out. Zhang Shi's glanced at the 110 points on the desk in front and then at his own 186, feeling surprised and then starting to show off again. He whispered to the desk behind him, "This time the physics teacher won't be able to attack me anymore." The physics teacher rolled the exam papers into a tube with one hand and held a thermos in the other, sauntering in at a leisurely pace. While asking someone to wipe the blackboard clean, he unscrewed the thermos and said coldly, "This physics exam saw a wide gap in scores, with someone getting a full score of 110 and another getting only 39. Zhang Shi's eyes widened. He couldn't believe it as he poked Bai Lian's shoulder. Damn, someone got a full score of 110 in physics. It must be me. He didn't finish his sentence when the physics teacher glanced coldly at him. I'm talking about you, Zhang Shi's. Both your desk mate and the one in front have scores of 110. Yang Lin also scored 97. The class average in physics is 70. And your grade's lowest score of 37. Are you challenging my career? You even disturbed the one in front of you. The teacher threw a chalk at him. Sit properly. Zhang Shi's. He incredulously turned to Bai Lian. Isn't it? Your total score is just 110. How come physics is also 110? This is more ridiculous than a Chinese essay. After speaking, the physics teacher looked at Bai Lian with a smile. The surprise in his heart wasn't missing. This physics test was considered difficult, and several top students performed very well. But what he didn't expect was that Bai Lian, who had switched from liberal arts to science, also managed to score full marks. Thinking about it, the physics teacher felt it was a pity. Why didn't she switch over in the second year? If she had done that, participating in 2 physics competitions might have given her a chance for direct university admission. Class ended. During lunch, Bai Lian, Yang Lin, Pu Ziohan, and 4 other girls from the entertainment committee were together. Bai Lian, later will go try out the stage. The student council wants to check it. The entertainment committee member said to Bai Lian, Longsword has arrived this morning. I'll pick up the delivery from the office after one finish eating. Okay, Bai Lian nodded. After the group of girls finished talking, Zhang Shi's came over with his meal, gloomily looking at Bai Lian. So when you said you didn't finish? Bai Lian, skillful in dividing half her dishes into Yang Lin's bowl, looked up at Zhang Shai's words, her tone unhurried. Indeed, I didn't write for biology and chemistry. Physics 110. Pu Ziohen's eyes widened while looking at Bai Lian. How did you do that? I heard there were only 4 full scores in physics for the whole school. Why didn't you write for biology and chemistry? Bai Lian lowered her gaze, eating methodically. After swallowing her food, she then looked up at Pu Ziohen, her almond eyes particularly bright, very matter-of-factly. I haven't studied those yet. The whole table was stunned. 6, during lunch, at the school auditorium. By the time Bai Lian and Pu Ziohen's group arrived, there were a lot of people in the auditorium. Pu Ziohen, you're here. The president of the student council's cultural department greeted them with a smile. Wait a moment. After the skit rehearsal is over, it's your turn. Bai Lian found a place to sit down, taking out her headphones and vocabulary book to start memorizing words. Why are there so many people today? Pu Ziohen looked at the auditorium filled with boys. The cultural department's head whispered, Didn't see the forum? Ren Wangshuan is coming to rehearse, and they're all waiting for her. Pu Ziohen. Oh, the head spoke with Pu Ziohen, stealing glances at Bai Lian, who was memorizing words. Are you really not going to lure her to the cultural department? The new student doesn't have time, Pu Ziohen whispered. She studies very seriously. All right. As they talked, another group arrived outside the auditorium. Pu Ziohen looked up and saw several boys and girls from Class 8 surrounding Ren Wangshuan as they came in. Soon, the president of the student council came out from the backstage specifically to greet them. Wait a moment, Pu Ziohen noticed after the skit ended. A piano was moved onto the stage. Isn't Class 8 later than us? Ren Wangshuan had been known in the school forum to have won a second prize for piano. Pu Ziohen knew, just by looking, that the piano was for her. Hey, stay calm. The cultural department head pressed Pu Ziohen's shoulder helplessly. It can't be helped. You know how Ren Wangshuan is the financial god of the external relations department. All student council sponsorships come from her mother, and she's on good terms with our president too. She was popular, not lacking money, on good terms with the student council, and the school often made concessions for them. Ren Wangshuan played the piano. The audience in the auditorium stopped what they were doing and watched her performance intently. It was evident that Ren Wangshuan had been learning piano from a young age. Both technique and emotion were spot on. After the performance, a wave-like round of applause erupted. Don't say it, Pu Ziohen, who disliked the elites in the Crown Prince class, had to nod after listening. Class 8 might not be much to talk about, but they can't criticize the piano playing. Returning to her senses, the head agreed. Let's go, it's your turn. Pu Ziohen watched Ren Wangshuan come down from the stage, recalling her professional-level piano performance. She quietly reminded the head, Bai Lian is average at longsword. Make sure you guys in the department ramp up the atmosphere when it's time, got it? The head used to be classmates with Pu Ziohen before they were assigned different classes, now in liberal arts. She thought for a moment, or should we schedule you guys after the next? What? Bai Lian just finished memorizing a page of vocabulary. She turned off the app and looked up at the two beside her. Pu Ziohen touched her nose and explained honestly. Bai Lian put away her headphones, stood up, her posture straight and her blue and white school uniform neat, her dark eyes slightly narrowed, lazily tilted her head to the side, lips curled slightly. It's not necessary. The head of the literature and art department immediately pinched Pu Ziohen's arm, conveying with her gaze, so cool. I'm totally smitten. Pu Ziohen smiled, urging her to maintain her composure, and then she took Bai Lian to the backstage. The senior transfer student was very well known at the school. Several members of the student council, after watching the piano performance and hearing that she'd arrived, all went backstage to catch a glimpse of her. Bai Lian had taken off her school uniform jacket and was only wearing a white t-shirt with a water ink-colored white crane embroidered on it. She looked over the longsword that Pu Ziohen had custom-made, weighing it in her hands. The longsword had a black exterior with golden patterns, as tall as half her height, and weighed a bit over 1 jin. Pu Ziohen originally feared the longsword might be too heavy and difficult to swing, but Bai Lian handled it as if it were light as a feather. It was as if what she held was not a gin-heavy iron sword, but a mere feather. Bai Lian examined it for a while, then swiftly drew it from its sheath. Although the longsword was not sharpened, its cold gleam was evident, reflecting in her dark pupils. Bai Lian, with one hand on the hilt and the other loosely holding the sheath, hair pinned up at the back of her head, held the cold sword as though she were a swordsman in white traveling the world. The imposing aura on her, naturally, radiated with the longsword in hand. She methodically returned the longsword to the sheath, then turned to the side. "Is it my turn?" "Go up from here." The members of the student council came to their senses and pointed out the place to get on stage. "The piano has already been moved away." As Bai Lian parted the curtains and stepped onto the stage from backstage, a few people hurriedly surged out to watch the transfer students' performance up close from below the stage. In the outside corridor, the president of the student council and the head of the external relations department were seeing Ren Wongshuan out. "What were you doing backstage?" the president asked them. Ren Wongshuan's piano had been on TV and had won awards. Everyone in school wanted to see it, but opportunities to watch Ren Wongshuan perform were few and far between. She'd been specifically requested to close the show this time because sponsors who had long supported Xiancheng No. 1 High School were visiting. So the school had invited her. The council members all knew that even before the rehearsals, people on the Beidou Taiba forums were already looking forward to it. They were all there to watch Ren Wongshuan. "We just got back from watching it." Pu Ziohen and the others had already taken their leave. The literature and art department head stayed back to explain to the president, "Bai Lian is about to perform, we were just heading out to watch." The new student, the president naturally was also familiar with the name Bai Lian. "Then I'll go have a look too." "Sure," the literature and art department head waved her hand. "Just remember to applaud then, the new student's performance isn't that professional." After they left, Ren Wongshuan turned to the president. "Bai Lian." That transfer student. The president hadn't paid close attention to the performance schedule and now pulled it out to see. Elle didn't expect she'd also participate in the performance, a sword dance, huh? But I heard she isn't professional. Ren Wongshuan looked at the lengthy performance program. She was scheduled at the very end, a deliberate arrangement by the school authorities to keep the audience in their seats. Third from the last was Bai Lian's performance. Ren Wongshuan withdrew her gaze casually. "Doesn't the second-to-last program clash with mine? Let's swap it with the one before." Students liked to form cliques. Ren Wongshuan and her group either had wealthy families or powerful connections. Anything they faced at home could be resolved for them, and they were used to being the center of attention. The Ren family had even donated a canteen exclusively for Ren Wongshuan. Mixing with ordinary students over time made class tensions quite apparent. The more the ordinary students dared not provoke them, the more arrogant and proud these individuals became. The president looked down at the performance program. The second to last was a popular music duet, which didn't clash with the piano performance, but he certainly wouldn't deny Ren Wongshuan face. "Okay," he swapped the second-to-last act with the third-to-last one. Outside, on stage, a group of boys, after watching Ren Wongshuan's performance, leisurely got up, horsing around and preparing to return to their classrooms. "How was it? Did you record it?" "Elle did, but you can't upload it on Beidou Taiba. I'll show you secretly later." The school celebration hadn't started yet. Rehearsals were not to be leaked. Until once again, a beam of light fell onto the stage. "What's the performance about?" some asked while leaving the auditorium. "It's Bai Lian's. I heard it's a sword dance." Wang Yu got the news from the literature and art department and started speaking with his phone. "Just now, the literature and art department people said to give the new student some face and to go support her." "That's more like it. She's so good-looking. It's not like she can do everything." A boy laughed. "The kids from Class 8, who seem to know how to do everything, are the ones who often make me doubt myself. I'll stay to support her." "Well, that's about enough." Some classmates were in a hurry to get back to their classes. "I'll watch the new student's performance on the day of the school's celebration." Many people were leaving. After all, most of them had come for Ren Wongshuan. A small portion remained, looking up at the stage. This time, no one sneakily pulled out their phones to record. In the center of the stage, Bai Lian was dressed in blue school trousers and a white shirt, her right hand gripping a longsword, its tip pointing outward. Her eyes were cast downwards, and she stood tall and elegant, exuding an overwhelming presence even before the performance began. Thump thump, the sound of the drum, with a strong sense of rhythm, began to rise. She suddenly lifted her head, her dark eyes opening wide, and raised her right arm. As the guzheng and flute joined in, she spun her arm outward, slicing the sword edge from left to right, drawing 2 vertical circles, and at the end of the short guzheng note, her wrist lifted, making a point-break sword gesture diagonally towards the ground. The bubbling sound of the guzheng's strings merged with the distant, melodious flute as the drumming rejoined. Bai Lian flipped midair, her entire body soaring, the sword momentarily twirling around her wrist before she firmly grasped it again upon landing. The drumming crescendoed. As she moved her sword in circular motions, she executed a series of flips along a straight pathway, her right hand performing the sword flower technique nearly 20 times consecutively. The sword tore through the air like a dragon in flight, its cold light flashing. Meanwhile, her movements were as light as a drifting cloud, never touching the ground. Bai Lian's gaze followed the sword edge, her body leaning backward as the instrumental music came to an end, swiftly reversed with the sword tracing across her chest, and with a swift flip, she sheathed the sword. Boom, and the drumbeat abruptly stopped. With the sword vertical in front of her chest, she slowly lifted her head along with the sword, revealing a pair of deep, cold eyes. The spotlight froze on her, as if thunder that had been rumbling suddenly ceased, and a tumultuous sea instantly calmed. Bai Lian remained standing at the center of the stage, and now without the glint of cold steel, she stood out sharply as though atop a snowy mountain in a blizzard. The entire auditorium was silent. It wasn't until Bai Lian, holding her sword, brushed through the black curtains to the backstage that the silent hall, like a calm pot of oil with a drop of water added, exploded into commotion. Aya Ziohan, on the left side of the stage, the head of the literary and art department was on the verge of throttling her. You call this unprofessional. If this is unprofessional, what is professional? It's all your fault. I didn't record the screen. A female student from the art class murmured beside her, not to mention her sword flower technique and point-break sword. Just the flips alone, no one in our art class can do it as smoothly. Pu Ziohen, who was almost strangled, down in the seats. A group of boys took a while to snap back to reality. Wang Yu, did you happen to record it, did you? Some tried to snatch Wang Yu's phone. Wang Yu, whose phone was snatched. Elle only realized what was happening towards the end and managed to record the last 20 seconds. Be careful not to accidentally delete it. The group of boys hurriedly played the video. From a distance from the stage, and after enlarging the video, they could only see Bai Lian's silhouette. White shirt, blue trousers, a blur of a red band around her wrist, and a white spotlight above her head, even through a distant lens. One could glimpse her hibiscus-like complexion. Vivid and impactful. The sword was like frost and snow, creating an impression of wild and ethereal transcendence. Amazing. Backstage, there was no one. After Bai Lian picked up her coat, Pu Ziohan and the others came in. Take care of our longswords. Pu Ziohan solemnly handed the longswords to a logistic staff member. The staff members, still looking at Bai Lian, took the swords. Don't worry. The student council intended to interview Bai Lian more thoroughly, even considering a special school newspaper feature for her, but Bai Lian was in a hurry to get back to her homework and didn't linger. It was only after leaving the hall. Pu Ziohen looked pensively at Bai Lian. Bai Lian grabbed her vocabulary book, her brows and eyes lifting slightly. Speak. Didn't you say you were only average with the longsword? Yes, Bai Lian was startled. The Bai family excelled in spears and mounted archery. She did as well. Among the 6 arts except for ritual, she mastered them all, and in the 8 elegances she slightly surpassed others in zither, literature, poetry, wine, and tea. As for the longsword, she had only learned a few tricks. Giving a sword dance was one thing, but for real combat, the spear suited her better. Pu Ziohen saw it clearly. Bai Lian seriously considered herself average with the longsword. It was not modesty. No, how can you call that average? Pu Ziohen recalled what the art student had said. What kind of environment did the new student grow up in? Bai Lian nodded. What else then? Pu Ziohen. If that was average, then what was left for others? Bai Lian's phone vibrated. She checked it and saw it was a message about a package that had arrived at the school. She put the phone back into her pocket, planning to retrieve the package later in the evening. Pu Ziohen returned to the classroom, and everyone instantly gathered around her. To avoid making Bai Lian nervous, the cultural committee member didn't follow her. How was the rehearsal? She asked anxiously. Pu Ziohen took out a book and then slammed her fist down on the desk. Damn, there's no recording. All I can say is, it was your loss for not seeing it. You have to see it live with your own eyes to know what a real shock is. Following the last director, Pu Ziohen was once again metaphorically choked by someone. She would have been fine had she not spoken, but her words practically made everyone else want to smack her. Is what you're holding the standard answer? After the teasing, the cultural committee member sighed with relief. Looking at the Chinese answer card, Pu Ziohen was holding up for imitation. The neat handwriting on it really did look like the standard answer. This, Pu Ziohen unfolded Bai Lian's Chinese answer card, is Bai Lian's answer card that I'm imitating. Wait, the cultural committee member pointed in disbelief at the poetry fill-in-the-blank. She could write the answer even for the elective extracurricular reading. Pu Ziohen had previously only focused on Bai Lian's essay and hadn't noticed that her score up front in the basics was a perfect 90. Hearing this, she subconsciously looked down. This time, there was a particularly obscure question in the Chinese poetry fill-in-the-blank section. 16. In Bai Xiangjun's military expedition, Part 2, the phrases express her boundlessly gallant and heroic ambitions and also evoke various interpretations by later generations of readers. This poem hadn't been covered by Lu Lingxi yet, and they hadn't studied it in class either. But there it was, written neatly on Bai Lian's answer card. Mounting the war chariot, I weep blood upon the blade. With a jug of wine, I clasp the moon and soar to the heavens. Pu Ziohen subconsciously looked back at Bai Lian, who was lowering her gaze and seriously solving an ellipse problem. So she struggled to explain on behalf of Bai Lian. Bai was previously in the art stream, so she might have studied something different from us, I guess. Pu Ziohen almost guiltily added the word, I guess. People from Xiancheng cherish Bai Xiangjun's poetry, and virtually every exam at Xiancheng know. One middle school features her verses, so even students like Zhang Shai's who coast through their days wouldn't get them wrong. But the line used today was, indeed, much more obscure than her usual ones. If Bai Lian could produce that answer, it was truly bizarre. The last week at the training class, most students acknowledge that 90% of the 2 spots will go to Ren Wangshuan and Chen Zhu, but they haven't given up and are studying seriously. The class monitor of Class 8 distributed today's papers, eventually fixing his gaze on Tang Ming. Starting today, the difficulty level of the problems will spike again. Each one of you has a chance, so I hope no one gives up. Tang Ming, like Ning Xiao and Bai Lian, did not start on the problems immediately. Ning Xiao, without any pretense, took out a Jiangjing University physics book and casually flipped through it. He asked Tang Ming, when are you going to start studying it? Tang Ming, looking back through previous analyses, didn't look up. Let's see, I don't have time right now. After the class monitor of Class 8 left, most students couldn't help but look over at them, especially after Tang Ming's comment. Those familiar with Ren Wangshuan and Chen Zhu shifted the topic and asked Ren Wangshuan, don't both of you have like over 290 in comprehensive science? Yeah, this set of questions wasn't too difficult. Ren Wangshuan shifted her gaze away. That's impressive, the other person sighed. I got 277 and only 104 in physics. Several questions were much like the training materials, but I didn't get them right. Ren Wangshuan and Chen Zhu were used to the attention and praise from others and didn't mind it. While they were talking, suddenly someone looked towards Bai Lian. Hey, how do you think the new student did on the exam? Once this was mentioned, everyone was curious. Bai Lian, after all, had been singled out by the principal, forbidding her from studying arts. She must have done well, don't you remember she was specially admitted? someone mysteriously chimed in, and I saw on the forums that the new student's performance was stunning. Really? Everyone around was discussing Bai Lian. Ren Wangshuan looked down and slowly packed her things, her expression one of cold irony. A performance piece? What speciality? Just a pretty face to look at, I suppose. Ning Xiao got 296 in comprehensive science. Since they had encountered these types of physics questions in the training class, the difference lay only in chemistry and biology. Chen Zhu was also curious about the new student's score. Wonder what Bai Lian got. Chen Zhu had a 297 in comprehensive science this time. Ren Wangshuan scored exactly 290. Ren Wangshuan hastily zipped up her bag, glanced at them, and said casually, "Talking about the new student? Her comprehensive science score is 110, with a total of 450. This was the total score Ren Wangshuan saw in the office. She specifically looked for Bai Lian's ranking. There were nearly 900 students in the senior year, 669 in science, and Bai Lian was ranked 427 among the science students. It took a while for Ren Wangshuan to find Bai Lian's ranking. She also breathed a sigh of relief. Bai Lian, who had been praised by the principal, only had such average grades, nothing to fear. 110. The boy speaking was very surprised. How come it's so low? Ren Wangshuan shook her head. She wasn't interested. Chen Zhu, however, found the reason. Her biology and chemistry must be bad. It's probably only physics that's decent. Ah, the others were very surprised. With that, can she get into Baikeng University? Of course, none of them had even considered that Bai Lian could get into Jiangjing University. It was still unknown whether Chen Zhu and Ren Wangshuan could get in this year, let alone the others. Their highest aspiration as average students was merely Baikeng University. But all this was no longer within Chen Zhu's consideration. Since both Bai Lian and Ning Xiao's scores were lower than his, he stopped caring about Bai Lian's scores. After his gaze swept past Ning Xiao, who was flipping through physics at Jiangjing University, he bent his head and started packing up his books. Then, with the envious looks of a few people, he left early. The other two in the group followed them. They knew that the one who provided the answers to Ren Wangshuan's group every day was a doctorate student from Jiangjing University. 9 o'clock, the milk tea shop. 3 people were focusing on doing their questions and homework. Jiang He sat beside Bai Lian. Ming Dingheng poured a cup of water for Bai Lian and Jiang He, then placed the kettle on the table, gesturing to Ning Xiao and Tang Ming to pour their own water. Tang Ming expressed his thanks repeatedly, then poured water for himself and Ning Xiao. He was once a top student at his high school, but here he was not even good enough to be at the bottom, not to mention that youngster. He couldn't help but feel that the robust, tall guy next to the youngster seemed smarter than him. As the wind chimes at the door tinkled, Jiang He fluidly got up and moved to the table behind Bai Lian. Was that the Chinese dictionary? Are we studying particles today? Jiang Fulai handed the hardcover book to Ming Dingheng, sat down after flipping his coat, and carelessly took the worksheet Bai Lian had set aside in his pale fingers. Bai Lian was working on an English reading comprehension. She hadn't memorized enough English words yet, so it wasn't going very smoothly. She looked up, a bit pensive. Right, kinematic factors, they have scattering angles. Can they be treated as two-dimensional collisions? Bai Lian was talking about the last question. She could answer the first 3 sub-questions. Correct! Jiang Fulai's eyes slightly arched as he unfolded the test paper and handed it to Bai Lian. Try explaining your understanding to these 2. This task was familiar to Bai Lian. Confident the general direction was correct, she pulled out a piece of blank paper, her eyes drooping, and lazily replied, "Okay." Ning Xiao had heard Bai Lian explain problems before, so he wasn't surprised. Tang Ming, on the other hand, paid close attention to Bai Lian's structured explanation. Her speech was as lazy as her demeanor, and because she often explained problems to Jai Heng, she did not have the habit of skipping 2 simple parts like Jiang Fulai. To Tang Ming, it sounded quite simple. Since she spoke slowly, he could take notes just right, and he even dared to ask if he missed anything. Jiang Fulai, on the side, watched Bai Lian drawing a diagram of the relationship between kinematic factors and scattering angles on paper. Her drawing was fluid and confident, with visibly equidistant segments. Her hand was slender and fair, seeming to glow, with her casually tied black hair revealing her delicate neck, and laziness tinged her eyes and brows. Behind her, Ming Dingheng knew at a glance to whom the Chinese dictionary was meant for. He sat next to Jiang He and pushed the book to him. Jiang He, playing with a Rubik's Cube, did not lift his head and push the book back to Ming Dingheng, clearly resisting. Ming Dingheng, he silently pushed the book back to Jiang He, thinking he didn't know. "Young master, this is from your brother." Jiang He coldly pushed it back. Ming Dingheng pushed it over, and back again. Jiang Fulai swept a cold glance over. "Are you two playing passing the pigeon?" Ming Dingheng. Jiang He glanced at Jiang Fulai, seemed like he wanted to say something but still didn't dare, grudgingly reached out a little hand and took back the Chinese dictionary that was pushed in front of Ming Dingheng. Tonight, Bai Lian explained the problems very meticulously. Although when Bai Lian explained for the third time, Jiang Fulai casually glanced at Tang Ming. The cold glare from him executed Tang Ming many times over. Even though Tang Ming still ranked within the top 15 of his grade in this month's exam, he couldn't help but doubt his own intelligence. Today, he finished his work a bit earlier than usual, at 11 o'clock. Bai Lian remembered that she hadn't picked up her package yet. "Where is it?" Jiang Fulai shut down his computer, his expression unchanged, his fingertips closing the laptop. With a pen still in her hand, Bai Lian casually leaned back, tilted her head, and said, "At the school's reception office." "Okay," Jiang Fulai stood up. "You keep reviewing." Bai Lian gave him the pickup code. Jiang He, who was above worldly matters, usually had packages fetched, opened, and handed to him by the butler's assistant. This was the first time he learned what a pickup code was. Zion Cheng no. One high school's self-study rooms are open until 11 at night. Therefore, the reception office's security guard was still there at this hour. When he was drowsy, he heard a cold voice above him. "Hello, I'm here to pick up a package." It was like a bucket of ice water being dumped on him, the chills seeping down from the crown of his head. The security guard, stunned, looked up to see a pair of pale, chilly eyes. The face was too fair, cold, and stern, looking down through the window at him, arrogant and indifferent, dangerously daunting to the onlooker. 92-147, Jiang Fulai said indifferently, withdrawing his gaze as he recited a string of numbers. There weren't many packages sent to the school. The guard found the package within a short time and handed it over, even bending over to add, "Take care." It was only after the transaction was completed that the security guard came to his senses. He smacked his head. "Really, why did I tell him to take care?" Bai Lian opened the package as soon as she got it. It was a household registration book sent by the Public Security Bureau, registered under Jai Heng's name. Ziang Cheng's Public Security Bureau had reissued a new household registration book for her. Tang Ming and Ning Xiao had just left after finishing their work. Bai Lian flipped through the 2 pages of the household registration book several times, aided by the light from a milk tea shop. The household registration book was thin as always, with only 2 pages recorded. Household head Jai Heng, granddaughter Bai Lian. She did not avoid Jiang Fulai, so he saw the thin 2 pages at a glance. Since meeting Bai Lian, Jiang He had never investigated her, but he glanced at the household registration book, a nearly imperceptible frown creasing his brow. Bai Lian kept looking at the household registration book, her demeanor not as lazy and casual as usual. Quite silent, Jiang Fulai reached for his phone and sent her a video through the internet. The vibration of her phone startled Bai Lian. When she looked, it was footage of several clumsy-looking fat birds waddling back and forth. "These are dodos," Jiang Fulai explained casually from one side. "They were so dumb that they're extinct now." Bai Lian couldn't help but burst into laughter. She naturally caught the earlier remark by Jiang Fulai. Unable to help it, she glanced towards Jiang He and Ming Dingheng. Ming Dingheng was standing at the door with his arms crossed, and when he saw her looking over, he seemed a bit perplexed. Swish! Beside them, Jianghe, who was looking through a dictionary, coldly and mercilessly flipped a page. 11:30. Jai Heng was still waiting for Bai Lian at the mouth of the alley. He would take naps at noon, and at night he would light a lamp to work on some embroidery, timing it perfectly for Bai Lian's return. Occasionally, he would make some sweet soup dumplings for Bai Lian's late-night snack. "What are you looking at?" He turned on his flashlight, peering at Bai Lian. "The light is too dim, it's bad for your eyes. If you want to read, go back and turn on the light." "Oh," Bai Lian handed the household registration book to Jai Heng, her voice nonchalant. "The household book, it arrived today." Jai Heng's fingers holding the household registration book paused for a moment. After speaking a few words, he noticed Bai Lian was still softly muttering vocab words. "Are you listening to me?" "I am." Bai Lian walked beside him, not looking up, slowly repeating, "You and Uncle haven't planned for me to get in next year." Jai Heng. "So you can really do two things at once, huh?" Bai Lian continued to diligently recite vocabulary words. Over time, Jai Heng had come to understand Bai Lian's character. She really had developed excellent study habits. Although he disliked the Bai family, he had to admit that the Bai family was a distinguished lineage that raised Bai Lian with great poise. Had Bai Lian grown up by his side, Jai Heng couldn't be sure he could have raised her the same way. All he could do was murmur to himself, "Would repeating 2 years really not afford you?" The flashlight was very bright. It cast long shadows of the elder and the young girl. The household registration book belonging to Jai Heng gained an extra page, and the yellow book belonging to Bai Lian seemed to no longer contain just her name alone. It was Tuesday, and there was a biology class. The biology teacher shared an office with the physics teacher. He knew that 2 students in class 15 had scored perfect in physics. One of them was Ning Xiao, and the other. Looking at the biology score marked 0, he raised his head, and with a look of resignation, he addressed Bai Lian. "Bai Lian, why don't you write the biology test?" The physics teacher, overhearing the biology teacher, became displeased. "Now look here, Mr. Wang, how can you pressure Bai Lian like this? Don't you know she has just switched to science?" Turning to Bai Lian, the physics teacher added, "He's really something, not at all like me. I'm very lenient with you, Bai Lian. No matter how you do in class, I don't mind." The biology teacher, he felt like cursing at the physics teacher. "What do you mind? Do you mind if her scores are too high?" The physics teacher was off to class 14 for the next period, clutching the papers, satisfied as he left the office. Bai Lian, with downcast eyes, was dressed in her school uniform, slender and tall, responding to the biology teacher. "Teacher, it's because I haven't studied it yet." If physics, which is many times harder than biology, could be aced by her, how could she possibly not have studied biology? The biology teacher didn't believe a word of it. If it hadn't been for the fact that he'd heard someone got a 0 in chemistry too, he might have suspected the new student had something against him. "Bai Lian," the biology teacher said somewhat meekly, "then tell me, could we maybe, just possibly, every now and then study a bit of biology?" Bai Lian was almost done with her physics foundation. She had also copied Yang Lin's biology notebook completely. The biology teacher's suggestion coincided with her own plans. "Okay, I got it, teacher." "You don't." The biology teacher was about to urge her earnestly. Hearing what sounded like agreement, he perked up, looking at her. "Really?" "Of course." Bai Lian lifted her eyebrows. Bai Lian, Thursday, the last day of training classes. After watching the day's recorded session, the teacher in charge of Class 8 distributed the final exercises to the training class, scanning the students. "Today is the last day for exercises. Turn in your answers tomorrow. After the school's meeting is over, we'll announce the 2 chosen candidates." His words stirred up a storm. Even though they knew the spots were not meant for them, witnessing the birth of the legendary app at their school was still a rarity. The phone in hand buzzed, a reminder from the school for him to attend a meeting. The Class 8 teacher had to leave in a hurry and didn't linger. After ensuring everything was in order, he left the training class. As soon as he closed the door, the training class erupted into excitement. "Ren Wangshuan, Chen Zhu." Someone looked at them with a smile. "Once the spots are confirmed tomorrow and you've downloaded the app, could we take a look?" Once this was said, nearly everyone turned to look at the 2 of them. Yes, Ren Wangshuan, show us a glimpse tomorrow, will you? Ren Wangshuan was packing up her things. Although she didn't show it on the surface, she was extremely excited on the inside. Sure, whoever wants to see it can just tell me, she said calmly, continuing to pack her things. It was the last day today, and the Ren family had managed to invite Dr. Gao once again. Wangshuan didn't want to be late. As Chen Zhu stood up, he saw Ning Xiao giving the book to Tang Ming. Chen Zhu paused, lowered his voice, and asked, "She didn't agree to sell the book to you." Chen Zhu was aware of Bai Lian's connections with the Ren family. He had thought the Ren family would find a way to buy it. But during these few days, Ren Wangshuan had no news. "No," Ren Wangshuan said on her way out, unconcerned. "If she were willing to sell, I had even planned to give her Dr. Gao's answers." Upon hearing her say this, the other two members of the group were quite surprised. "Wangshuan, you're really kind." Ren Wangshuan had given only Chen Zhu the complete answers to the daily exercises, and now she was even willing to give them to the transfer student. This training class was specially established by Jiangjing University this year. They were all in competition with each other. Ranking at the top could possibly catch the attention of someone from Jiangjing University. They understood why Ren Wangshuan gave them only half of the answers. After all, she was doing it free of charge, and they were grateful to have half the answers. Thinking of this, the two couldn't help but glance towards Bai Lian perhaps. Did this new student even realize what she had missed out on? Bai Lian was studying earnestly, caring little about what she might lose. But their glance happened to fall on the book that Tang Ming was flipping through casually. The previous evening, it was Bai Lian who had explained the problems, and when Tang Ming didn't understand, he asked her. He quickly grasped it and found time to look at Jiangjing University's physics materials, half of which consisted of a comprehensive analysis of theorems in optics, electromagnetism, and kinematics. The other half was about the principles and results of experiments conducted in the laboratory. Tang Ming didn't seem as relaxed as Ning Xiao. After flipping through a few pages, he returned the book to Ning Xiao with a frown. "I won't look at it now. I'll check your notes later." Ning Xiao took it back. Ren Wangshuan's group, watching the two pass the book back and forth so casually, couldn't help but feel envious. "They treat that book so carelessly." The group gave up talking about what Bai Lian was missing, their minds a swirl of sentiments. "If it were mine, I would look through it every day." They would definitely not treat it with such indifference as Bai Lian and the others did. Ren Wangshuan and Chen Zhu left the room. "Do they have any idea how important the experiments in the back are?" Another voice whispered softly. "A waste on the undeserving." Ren Wangshuan pursed her lips. What was Bai Lian thinking? She clearly didn't look at it and gave it away casually, yet she was unwilling to sell it to the Ren family. 8 o'clock. The trio of Bai Lian still left together as always. It wasn't until they were gone that the others in the room turned to look at Bai Lian's side. They too knew what Bai Lian had, but obviously, Ren Wangshuan had animosity towards Bai Lian, and with the crown class being so renowned at school, even if they wanted to befriend Bai Lian, they wouldn't dare to do so openly. Especially since, initially, they also harbored animosity towards Bai Lian, who didn't seem approachable. They had their reasons, but Zhu Jiren was obviously in the same group as Bai Lian. "Jiren, what's going on? Aren't you in the same group?" Zhu Jiren's smile was stiff. She had no idea Bai Lian would have that book. If she had known earlier, even if she knew it would only help Bai Lian during the class group discussion, she would not have refused. Perhaps it was for that reason Bai Lian didn't let her join. Milk tea shop. Chief Chen, from behind the glass, was shocked to see Jiang He flipping through a very thick dictionary. "Mr. Ming, how come you are here?" "Jiang Shao will be here later," Ming Dingheng responded coolly, not planning to elaborate. Chief Chen didn't even dare to meddle in Jiang Fuelai's affairs. Ming Dingheng was always so cool. His reaction wasn't a bit surprising. He was waiting for Jiang Fuelai to return today, but had found the estate empty. It was only after contacting Ming Dingheng that he found out they were here. Looking at the milk tea shop's simple decor and cramped space, Chief Chen thought that it didn't seem to match Jiang Fuelai's status at all. "They have given up searching for your master. Chen Jingyu has found Tongpa." Chief Chen suddenly remembered something and spoke to Ming Dingheng with a serious expression. Ming Dingheng frowned. I know, I'm trying to contact my master now. As they were talking, 3 figures in Xiangcheng No. 1 high school uniforms approached from the direction of the school gate. Chief Chen casually glanced over and was slightly taken aback upon seeing the lazy-looking girl walking alongside them. The girl in the No. 1 high school uniform carelessly slung her backpack over one shoulder, holding a vocabulary book in the other hand, with a lock of hair softly resting on her brow ridge. She marched straight towards the milk tea shop, without turning a corner. "Miss Bai!" Chief Chen promptly greeted her politely as she approached. Ning Xiao and Tang Ming didn't recognize Chief Chen, but they sensed his imposing presence. They entered the milk tea shop first. Bai Lian, one step behind them, idly pressed on her vocabulary book with her fair fingertips and nodded to him. "Hello." Her eyes and brows were always calm, and she handled everything unruffled. It was as if it didn't matter to her whether she was facing a beggar or a king. They might not even be as important as the word/app on her phone. It wasn't until Bai Lian sat down next to Jianghe that Chief Chen realized something was amiss. The milk tea shop was not open for business at this time. What were these 3 doing here? While he was still surprised, a black car slowly pulled up by the roadside. Jiang Fulai got out from the back, a slim black laptop resting on his wrist. "Young Master Jiang," Chief Chen gathered his thoughts, his hands hanging by his side, and spoke respectfully. Jiang Fulai stopped. In his light gray coat, he always seemed exceptionally cool. His gaze calmly landed on Chief Chen. "What are we still missing?" Chief Chen reported the matter at hand. Wang Yufeng was spotted on Bachter Street today. He had been shot before, so he's only emerged now. We can now be fairly certain he has the MT-35 mineral in his possession. That old fox is probably waiting for a few companies to enter a bidding war. As a world-famous mineral merchant, meeting Wang Yufeng was not easy.